Hey Froggy friends, Kirostyle here, welcome back to Umineko When They Cry, Episode 6, Dawn of the Golden Witch. Well, thank you for the stretch, Kieran. Good to see you. Thank you, thank you. Hey Sunflower, hey Sai, Aru, Shadow Girl, Hakaze, Tomo, Kieran. Thank you so much for joining here on stream today. Hey everybody. I hope you're all doing well today. It has been a while since our last Umineko stream. It's been about a month. Oh, thank you. It's been about a month. I got sick, and even after I recovered from my sickness, my voice was still a little bit crackly, but it's time. It's time to get back into this. Hey, Marcelaris, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for following me and being a Froggy friend. Welcome, welcome. So, it's been a while, so let's do a little summary. Again, if anyone's new here, this is a visual novel. It is a fantasy murder mystery, and it's got great music, great story, great characters, but it is incredibly long. So we've been streaming Umineko almost every Sunday for the past, I don't know, 7 months? Maybe 8 months now? So last time, we found out that George and Shannon, Jessica and Cannon and Badler and Beatrice need to undergo a love trial to decide which of them will have their love eventually blossom into true love. In the process, they each had to kill one of the family members. So, George killed Ava, Jessica killed Kyrie, Cannon killed Rosa, Shannon killed Maria, Beatrice killed Natsui, and then Sorcerer Badler killed Peace Badler. And then Erica was going around doing her investigations, but she has been stripped of her detective's authority, so she wasn't able to get a full, proper examination of the bodies. Instead, she was able to have a quick look over them, basically given the small amount of time that she was allowed to go check on all the bodies. But despite the fact that she's lost her detective's authority, she's still pretty good at manipulating the situation, and seems to have swayed some of the adults to her side unexpectedly on their part, particularly Rudolph and Hideyoshi. And now we're back in the game, and we're going to find out what's going to happen. Now the first Twilight's over, moving on to the second Twilight. Hey Ash, welcome back to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. Okay, so let's get going. We'll see how... I might not even do like special voices today, depending on how my voice feels, so we'll try. But the nice thing is that, you know, we'll do a bunch of Umineko streams this week to make up for the ones we missed, and we should be able to finish episode 6 pretty soon, actually, in about 2 streams, and then we'll be right on time to start Rain Code when it gets released this Friday, which I'm really excited for. So, how is it playing on the witch's side? It feels strange. I used to think the witch's side had such a huge advantage, but now that I'm on that side, I see that it's ridiculous. It's almost like that game where you stick knives in a barrel and try not to stab the mustache guy inside. From the perspective of the human side, it feels like trying to shoot at a target hidden by mist. But from the witch's viewpoint, a stray shot might hit and become fatal. The old me played games like that all the time. Yeah, it's almost like Russian roulette. Even so, you believe that I eventually noticed, and stretched those games out to the limit. It may be impudent of me to ask, but just what is it that you noticed, Badler-san? At the very end of your games with the old me? It was a strange question. Even though in the past, Bito had always been the one posing it to Badler. Now that Badler had figured it out, Bito was the one asking it to him. Our roles have been completely flipped, haven't they? In the past, only you remembered, and only I forgot. But this time it's the other way around. Only I remember, and only you have forgotten. Would you mind telling me what it is? Telling you would be easy. But I don't want to tell you. I'm not trying to be mean. I just want to believe in a miracle for a bit myself. A miracle? Yes, this was the single miraculous seed that Badler had left behind. If Bito could remember a certain something without being told, that would prove that Bito had truly revived. So he wouldn't tell her. It was Badler's final seed, which existed because he still couldn't abandon his hopes for Bito's revival. And also, it'd be too easy for them to tell us, the viewers, what it was, I guess. If you can't tell me, then I won't ask. If I have displeased you, please forgive me. Don't worry about it. I just never know when to give up. As she watched that sad smile, Bito's chest tightened. He was looking at her and seeing the old her. Yes, I must become my former self for his sake. My older sister who gets burned by spiderwebs, and I who don't, must become one. Surely it's more useful to him if I go on a journey to find myself now, than if I simply watch over his game. Hey Slimmer, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. Good to see you today. How do you feel about this game? Do you think you can win? I intend to win. I'll win and end this eternal torture, just like Bito wanted. When it ends, what will happen to the world? Who knows? I wonder. However, that's what we wished for, so no matter what the result is, I'll accept it. What will happen to me? Bito was uncertain. Even she was probably no more than a piece in this game. If the game ended, then would she, one who had been born out of the game's rules, disappear? The game will probably disappear, but now, I completely understand magic, so I'll be able to carry you off the game board. I think that was your wish. My wish? The rest is a secret. I'll be waiting for a miracle, for you to remember all of that on your own. After smiling bitterly for just a second, Badler laughed and told her not to worry. Apparently it was best if she avoided talking to Badler about her previous self. Well then, I'll go check on my opponents for a bit. I can't wait to see what kind of twisted logic that idiot thinks up next. The old Badler-san did a lot of that too. My favorite was the one from the first Twilight of the second game, when he said the culprit killed everyone by feeding them small bombs. The highlights of my dark past. Please forget that ever happened as fast as you can. Yes, I will try. Badler became a cloud of gold butterflies and disappeared into the darkness. Bito kept bowing until he disappeared completely. To fill in his place, a single gold butterfly appeared and became Bito the Elder. Did you call for me, little sister? Yes. I want to know more about you, and I want to know what the real me is like. I want to become like that. Of course, I also want to know about my future self. Didn't we reveal everything about ourselves to each other for that purpose? However, we did not become one. I cannot understand what we must do to become our single self. What can we do to become one? I have high hopes for the trials of Zephyr and Furfur. You mean the miracle of magic given to the victors? I wonder if that magical miracle means becoming one. I will find my true form. You will fulfill Badler's wishes. Badler will be overjoyed too, so all three of us will have what we want. This is a trial, right? It means we cannot lose the other two pairs. George-san and Shannon-san, Jessica-san and Cannon-san. I can only grasp happiness by trampling over them. The conditions apply to all of us. If one of the others succeeds in love, the two other groups, including you, will be trampled over. Why must the scales be so tilted, I wonder? Tilted? Some people will find love, others won't. In that case, you could put those two groups on a scale. However, the scales for our trial have three plates, and 2 must lose for 1 to win. That seems horribly skewed. Who knows? It might mean that successful love is worth 2 destroyed loves. You're too insecure, little sister. If you can't put your desire to answer to battlers' expectations before your uncertainty over what happens to the losers, you won't be able to win anything. You're right. I won't give up on our victory. I don't like doing this to the others, but there'll be no hard feelings between us and them. If I do lose, I'll give my strongest blessings to whichever one of the lovers wins. So I'll fight with all my heart and soul, so that I have no lingering regrets, and I'll win that miracle of magic. How was it? How did the red and blue shootout over the first twilight go? We started by testing the waters. Battler seemed pretty eager too. She'd just come back from a fierce fight with Battler, where she had gathered information by making demands for the red text. It was the old familiar kind of fight, reminiscent of when the red text had first appeared, or when use of the blue text was first permitted. And the result? First, in all cases, it was the victims themselves that constructed the closed rooms. Also, those closed rooms were perfectly preserved until Krause's group broke them open. Also, I confirm that during this period all sorts of interference from the outside were impossible. Erica reported this proudly as though it had been a great battle, but Berncastel looked bored as she listened. After looking at her blankly for a second, Lambda Delta spoke her opinions frankly. Wait a second. Doesn't that mean this closed room murder was perfect? But, The victims had sealed the closed rooms themselves, and the closed rooms had been preserved until Krause and the others broke them open. And no one had been inside the closed rooms except for the victims. And Krause's group, the ones who had broken the rooms open, were not the culprits. In this way, she had managed to win several little red truths like these. Normally, simply collecting such vital information would have been enough. However, the Master Witch, tired with boredom, had expected a much more flashy, argument-winning victory instead of this bland result. However, this time I don't have the detective's authority, so there's a chance I messed up when examining the corpses. So if we suppose that a drug that mimics death was used to fool my examination, You mean Puru Puru Pico Pio? No, not that. It's not impossible for certain well-known drugs, such as insulin, to bring about a temporary state that mimics death. Adler did not counter that with the red truth. In other words, my blue truth worked. I think we've started with a victory. To sum up Erica's report, all she had done was listen to the red truths Battler had wanted her to hear. Only the information Battler had wanted out there had been shown, and she hadn't been able to strike any weak points. She was like a kid who had gone out shopping, then forgotten her job and only bought candy. However, this was all the players on the human side could do. Without the detective proclamation, she could only fight by collecting dull bits of information like that. However, her master had been expecting more than that sort of dull fight. So she had tried to give her report energetically to make it seem as though they were in a superior position. But no matter how much she tried, the cold expression of her master remained merciless. Your blue truth worked. If you didn't cut it down, it's probably just because it was too stupid. You call yourself a great detective with reasoning like that? I did try my best to examine the corpses with care, to the best of my abilities. However, I don't have the detective's authority, so we can't be certain. Wait a second, weren't you the one who decided not to make the detective proclamation? Didn't you say you wanted to raise the stakes to make up for your disgrace last time? Well... What's wrong? Are you saying you can't win against Battler without the detective's authority? That's not true, my master. I could easily defeat an incompetent like that even without the detective's authority. It's just this style of fighting is a little different from what I'm used to, and I haven't gotten the hang of it yet. As far as humans go, Erica was quite talented. Her knowledge and powers of memory and insight were ahead of the pack, and it was likely no human was more well-suited as a detective than her. However, no matter how much of an advantage she might have had over other people, that didn't matter in the Witches game. In the Witches game, it's either 0 or 100. In other words, everything is either the red truth, or it isn't. If a normal human was worth a 10, her exceptional power would probably rate to 99. However, it could never be 100. Since it wasn't 100, it couldn't be absolutely certain, so it didn't count as red truth. For example, the examination of the corpses that Erika had worried over in the fight just now. If she had performed it with the detective's authority, she could have said with 100% certainty whether they were alive or dead. However, without the detective proclamation, it was 99%. There was a 1% chance that she'd make a mistake, and that overturned the foundation of the examination. Erika had gained the detective's authority and had become the Witch of Truth because Bern-Castell had supplemented her talent of 99 with an additional 1. Simply because Bern-Castell wouldn't give her that 1. In the world of witches, Erika's 99 was treated exactly the same as a 0. She couldn't even use her great assistant Delnor without a power of 100. When working under an Erika who had lost the detective's authority, Delnor's red longsword lost its power. Delnor was also irritated she couldn't provide full assistance. She had tried several times to convince Erika to use the detective proclamation, but Erika had stubbornly refused each time. Why not just do it? Make that detective proclamation. If you do, you'll be unstoppable. Delnor could even use her red longsword and the Nox Decalogue. Why not do it if you want? No. There was no need for anyone to explain. By now it was clear that Erika hadn't abandoned the detective proclamation by her own will. When Badler reached the truth during the previous round, this game was already finished. This isn't really the 6th game. It's just a finale, so that Badler can have a chance to serve as Game Master at the end. The result was already decided last game. Yeah, pretty much. The games won't continue forever, and I've lost my bet with Bern. In this game, Badler will prove he's reached the game's truth, and then Beto's game will be destroyed in a big victory for the human side. And a big victory for Bern, too. Well, supposedly, but you look unsatisfied for some reason. Yeah, I'm not satisfied. I didn't want such a boring victory. The victory you did want had Beto's game board being torn to bits, and Beto's true pathetic form exposed, humiliated, and trampled on. But this victory of Badler's isn't quite like that, is it? All this about love and promises. He wants to end the game quietly and let her sleep in peace. That sort of ending would make anyone vomit. I didn't give Badler all that advice, so he could end things like that. I had his little sister turn to scrap meat behind his back. I had his parents and family killed horribly over and over again. That was all to spark a desire for revenge against Beto. Now, what kind of ending is this? Have I won? Of course not. Badler's gotten his hands on a victory that neither you nor I can stand. I had to withstand a staggering period of boredom just to come all the way out to this backwoods territory, just so I could see Beatrice lamely and pathetically torn to little bits. I didn't come here to sit from a rotten yogurt fragment like this. Aw, your angry face is wonderful too, Bern. I see, so this is why you want to straighten things out for yourself at least once at the end. It's all the fault of this moron piece screwing up all the time in the last game. Because of you, this game board that looked like it'd be fun for the first time in thousands of years has all been wasted. Filth, trash, scum. My apologies, my master. I will definitely bring you a victory, so please forgive me. If you couldn't win with the detective's authority in the last game, how do you expect to defeat Badler now that he's the game master? You don't have a chance at winning, even with the detective's authority. So why bother with it? True, if you can't win anyways, then the detective proclamation isn't necessary. The lack will just make your loss all the more certain. And therefore, if you manage to win in this even worse situation, that would be a miracle worthy of me. If and only if you can do that, I'll be able to forgive you. Yes, I will surely show you that miracle. Like... the hell you can, scum. All you can do is thoroughly expose your wretched self in a horrible punishment game with your only weapon taken away from you. And through it all, you'll still roll over playfully and beg to keep me entertained, scum. Sounds like you're having fun. Am I getting in the way? Gold butterflies gathered in the darkness and took the shape of Badler. Though he had just arrived, he seemed to know what the mood was, or know that the mood was dark. Ah, Badler. I had a look at your first Twilight. Quite impressive closed rooms. I'm sure you're even more talented than Bito. It's just a rehash of the closed rooms Bito made in the past. I'll take that as a compliment aimed at her. It seems your fight with Erika wasn't bad either. Think your serial murders will move along smoothly? Who knows? My role isn't to carry out serial murders. It's to use that process to show you closed rooms that are impossible without magic, and thereby achieve victory for the witch side and prove that I fully understood this game. No, there's one more thing. What? To settle things with Erika, after that evenly matched duel we acted out last time. Battler... Evenly matched? Burn Castell noticeably grimaced. Erika averted her eyes and hung her head timidly. I know what you'd like to say, that it wasn't a draw. We should have won easily, so it counts as a loss. Hey, it's not polite to eavesdrop. Look at a mirror. It's written all over your faces. No way! Where? Hey, what's going on here? If you tell me it's written in ink only morons can't see, then death, super death for you. Lambda Delta pulled a mirror out of thin air, and then looked at it and jumped around angrily. She was apparently pretending to be stupid in her own special way. Erika. What is it? That final fierce attack you and Delnor made in the last game was spectacular. Thanks. What happened to Delnor this time? Are you by yourself? No. I have been waiting here. Delnor had been just standing around in reserve, hiding her presence in the dark shadows. Well, when she can't use her red longsword, Delnor is just useless scum. There's no point in having her around, so she's hanging back. All I can do now is record Lady Erika's reasoning. Why won't you fight with her? Why can't you use that red longsword? Erika's reasoning and your longsword. Those were strong because they worked together. Delnor didn't answer. She just glanced at Burn Castell's expression for an instant. However, that glance was the same as a clear answer to Badler now. Badler fully recognized the situation. You're the one who told Erika not to use the detective proclamation. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. This fight is between me and Erika. We're gonna fight with all we've got. That way we'll be able to accept it whether we win or lose. There's no need for a mastermind behind the scenes like you. Hey Armand, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for dropping by today. Good to see you. Come now, I'm no mastermind. I'm just a theater-goer trying to relieve her boredom. A theater-goer is someone who sits quietly in the stands and watches. That's not what we call someone who jeers at the stage and threatens or manipulates the performers. Sorry for being an ill-mannered audience. You might not know it, but I've already paid a huge admission fee to watch this play. Sorry, but I intend to enjoy it until I get my money's worth. If you get in the way of the game's progression, I can use my authority as the game master to boot you out of this game. If you want to, go ahead. If you chase me out, I'll head back with my piece, Erika. This game will be cancelled, and you won't be able to prove you've reached the truth. A theater-goer is an observer, A truth with no observers is the same as an illusion. You need a theater-goer as a witness until Bito's game ends. Our truth only needs to pass between the two of us. If you get in the way any further, I'll boot you out by force. Then you can writhe around in boredom for a few centuries until you find another way to kill time. Then go ahead and do that. Erika, this game's over. Good work. You were completely useless. You weren't able to overturn the dishonor of your loss, so as promised, I'll throw you into the worst fragment. I'll toss you into the depths of oblivion with the empty popcorn buckets. My master, I will win. I'll win no matter what. So please let me fight Battler until the end. I don't want to lose and get thrown in the depths of oblivion. You know I want to watch until the end, right? The Battler says he'll toss me out. Hey, what'll you do, Lambda? Well, I realize you've been irritated since the last game, Burn, but calm down a bit. And Battler, don't provoke Burn so much. This kid can't control her emotions sometimes. Shut up! Who can't control her emotions? Burn Castell, who had never shown any expressions at all at one point in time, was now twisting her face into all kinds of displeased and ugly shapes. When Lambda Delta made fun of that, Burn Castell clicked her tongue and looked away. As they say, nothing can stop poison but poison. Apparently Lambda Delta was the only one who could rein Burn Castell in. Erika, you want to fight Battler, clear your name, and get Burn back into a good mood, right? Yes. Battler, you want to quickly and neatly end this final game, so you can prove you found the truth, right? Yeah. This is a face-off between me and Erika. I won't let anyone get in my way. But I won't let anyone get in Erika's way either. Battler... If both of them wish to fight, then that should be respected. Leave Burn to me. I'm the only one in the world who can calm that kid when she gets in a bad mood. You're the same sort as her, but at least you can be reasoned with. You shouldn't underestimate me. I just like seeing Burn grimace. That's why I've taken a liking to this game of yours. If you think I'm easy to handle, you're apt to get burned, okay? Delnor can't use her red longsword because the detective proclamation hasn't been made. If Erika makes it, she'll regain her power right away, right? Yes. When that happens, forgive me. Erika. What? Make the detective proclamation. No. Do you really think you can beat me as I am now without the detective's authority? I can win. Lord Battler, Lady Erika is herself a piece. She cannot disobey her master's orders. All she can do is gather the power she has and fight for survival. And Delnor, your power can't be used at all. Oh! Thanks for the chaos, Sunflower. And Delnor, your power can't be used at all without the detective proclamation. I need permission before unsheathing the red key. One form of that permission is the detective proclamation. Is there any other ways of getting that permission? What are you saying? If you're doing this out of pity for me, that's none of your business. Quiet. You're so flimsy by yourself, it's boring. Be quiet, detective who isn't a detective. Gah. The red key is infinitely similar to the red truth. If and only if I am given a truth, I am permitted to draw my sword for items that pertain to it. What do you mean by a truth? For example, there are Lady Erika's packing tape seals. Ah, those. Lady Berncastel has already acknowledged that those seals are equivalent in value to the red truth. Therefore, I am permitted to draw the red key, at least for truths pertaining to those seals. Those caused me a lot of trouble last time, so I had all the sticky packing tape removed from the game board this time around. A splendid move. Erika was proud to be able to call herself the detective, wasn't she? Yes. Though her only goal was to irresponsibly solve riddles, it was a matter of pride for her. Then she must really be suffering now she can't make that proclamation. Only she could tell you that. Badler took a deep breath, then hung his head in thought for a time. Erika was his enemy, but she was the player on the human side, and without her, there'd be no game. It had been the same with the old Bito. Badler had one-sidedly viewed Bito as an enemy. However, though Bito had thought of him as her opponent, she hadn't considered him enemy on a personal level. In accordance with the rules, I must fight with my rival ruthlessly. However, that doesn't mean I need to hate Erika herself. I won't misunderstand Bito's game. Erika, you're free to choose not to make a detective proclamation. In that case, go and fight just with your power as a human. I've been prepared to do that from the start. However, you have talented allies, Delnor, Gertrude, and Cornelia. You aren't alone. You have allies. Yeah, but they're unreliable, powerless, and useless scum. Delnor, just like how I was supported by Vergilia and Ronov in the past, Erika needs support as well. I know from repeated experience that playing for the human side's tough. Yes, I will assist her with all the power I possess. Understood. Know that it is our job. Huh. You can't even use the red truth. Erika, I will give power not to you, but to your allies. Huh? What do you think you're doing? I'd rather die than receive your pity. 3 people, Delnor, Gertrude, and Cornelia. Erika, I'll let you use 3 rooms worth of those packing tape seals. To fully seal one room, multiple seals would be needed to cover all the doors and windows. If he had said 3 seals, it would only have been possible to fully seal one room at best. So Badler was generous and limited them by room instead of by seal. Lord Battler, as the Game Master, I also acknowledge that these seals have the same effect as the Red Truth. This way, you'll also be able to wield that red longsword in a fight surrounding those, right? Yes, but are you certain? Winning against Erika when she's less than a detective is hardly a victory. If Erika's upping the stakes, then I should have the right to do the same. Woo, what a man! Aren't you lucky, Erika? Now you can use a bit of red without making the detective proclamation and irritating your master. You'll regret this. I'll use these 3 seals and kill you no matter what. Perfect. Come to kill me. Though it was only for 3 rooms, it was a red truth that Erika desperately wanted. Now she finally had enough leeway to fight as she pleased. She ground her teeth at being pitied by Badler, but her tears were not those of shame. Understood. 3 rooms worth of packing tape seals accepted. Regarding this matter, should we consider them as being accepted retroactively back when Lady Erika received the non-sticky packing tape from Mrs. Kumasawa? Erika had borrowed packing tape from Kumasawa to make seals with. However, Badler had made it so those weren't sticky. If you ruled that there had never been any problem with the stickiness of the packing tape, the transition could be made smoothly. Sure, it's fine. I'll rewrite the tale. The packing tape that Erika received from Kumasawa-san late at night on the first day was sticky, but there was only enough left to use on 3 rooms. I'll apply that from here on out. Understood. Lady Erika will also retroactively adjust her movements, starting before the discovery of the first twilight, and taking into account that the application of this privilege is now possible. As soon as these changes affect the progression of the game, they will be reported to the Game Master. Letting you do it retroactively even though you know which rooms the crime will occur in. That gives you a pretty big advantage. You won't have to waste tape on other rooms. It seems you've grown quite arrogant since becoming Game Master. Isn't it fun to give out charity to your pathetic opponents? Quiet. And don't misunderstand. I'm not being arrogant or soft here. Erica, use this weapon and come at me with all you've got. Then I'll crush you with all I've got. So, hold your head up high and use those 3. That is all. Badler made to leave the room with a flick of his cape. As he did, he thought he heard Erica let out a strained voice calling him to stop. What is it? If you have no business with me, I'm going. Make sure you talk with Delanor. Don't listen to those obnoxious witches, whatever they tell you. As long as I am on this game board, I won't let them do whatever they please. Thank you. Thank you. I'll fight with all I've got. I'll come at you with all my strength, so I'll defeat you no matter what. So if you do win against me, please crush me with all your strength. Please don't leave a scrap behind. Understood. Don't you go easy on me. This is the final game. I'm playing to prove to Bito that I've reached the truth. By now, who wins and who loses doesn't affect that goal. So I just want to accept you as a rival and settle this. In the game, let's suspect each other over everything as enemies. But as fellow players, let's trust each other. That's how this game is supposed to be played. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Badler melted into the darkness, becoming a cloud of gold butterflies, and vanished. Erica remained behind, sobbing. Just... kidding! Jeez, you're a dim, stupid man. You totally fell for it and gave me the tape. I, Furuto Erica, have packing tape. It was hard to imagine that the person who had been sobbing pathetically and this person now were the same. That's how vile her face contorted to be. The 2 witches were also cackling with ugly smiles. I totally understand. When you become Game Master, it feels like you've become God and you get all sure of yourself. It was the same for you, Lambda. Of course you'd lose after leaving a stupid mistake like walking corpses alone. Stupid Game Masters. Stupid mistakes, stupid pride, stupid losses, stupid battlers, stupid everything. Stupid losses, stupid battlers, stupid everything. Has a nice ring to it. Nice one, my master. Stupid battler, stupid everything, stupid battler, stupid everything. That stupid battler really thinks Erica's at a disadvantage, then I really pity him. A detective proclamation isn't what you need to kill a moron. Death by falling on a piece of tofu. It had to be soft tofu too. Add some gochujang chili paste and you've got a snack that'd go great with some wine. The 3 giggled together. It had all been an act to get the packing tape for the seals from Badler. Even though the packing tape that had tormented him so much in the last game was unusable in this one, he had fallen for Erica's act, and she had gotten what she wanted, though just 3 rooms worth. The illusion that Erica had an overwhelming disadvantage was just an act. A trap to trick Badler and make him hand over the packing tape. With this, I can kill Badler perfectly. I figured out those pathetic closed rooms long ago. A perfect closed room? Dumbass. I'll show you a real perfect closed room. And I could almost cry for joy at the fact that you gave me the weapon that'll finish you. My master, Lady Lambda Delta. Thank you so much for going along with this act. It was fun. No need to thank me. Plus, it wasn't an act. Bern Castell said something that was probably disturbing, but in her good mood, Erica didn't care a bit. That pudding for brains moron think he's done something so noble. I'll make you regret it. Alright, let's use these seals at our leisure. You did a great job too, Delanor. It seems that Ballard trusts you, so he believed every word you said. Don't tell me your conscience is hurting, you little murder doll. No. Delanor looked at Erica in a slightly lonely way. Then after shaking her head slightly, her gaze turned hard and she looked at the darkness Badler had disappeared to. He should have known that this was a no-holds-barred fight. How foolish, Lord Battler. This is without a doubt the result of your pride. Mr. Battler, this will be fatal. See, like, I like this part because it's like, you know, we hate Erica because she's just been nothing but horrible. And then you start to, like, sort of feel sorry for her, too. And then she turns it back on its head. It's kind of what happened at the end of episode 3, right? So far, so good, Furfur. Yes, all the lovers clearly possess a strong will. This is a victory for love that we shall extol. Everyone had gotten used to these two overdramatic demons. George spoke quietly with an annoyed expression. We'll only extol that after we've passed your trial and someone has been given the miracle of magic. I agree. We've all passed the first trial. What's next? I won't hold back anymore. I'll do whatever it takes. Yes, we won't lose. We won't lose either. Yeah, and of course the same goes for Badlerkin's group. Of course, I doubt anyone here is so naive that they hope to win by having the others forfeit. Right. Anyone weak enough to drop out would have no right to be here right now. Even Bito, who seemed to be the shakiest one of the six, was strongly determined. The two demons nodded at each other, taking note of the six's continued resolve. So what's the next trial? Don't tell me you still haven't decided. Well, we thought at least some of you would drop out. We didn't think you'd all remain. What a happy, miraculous miscalculation due to love. Shut up. So? Are we gonna play musical chairs or something to make sure someone drops out? Yes, precisely that! We've decided to have this trial eliminate one group no matter what. This trial is the second twilight of the epitaph. Tear apart the two who are close. I don't get it. Zephyr-sama, Furfur-sama, what sort of trial is this? Do you mean we're gonna kill each other? That settled things quickly. Though it's not exactly civilized. Love is for carnivores. Guess we can't all just find happiness together, can we? This is what they call a zero-sum game. It's an economic word, but maybe you've heard of it. No, my apologies. Zero-sum game. It's where victory and losses all cancel out to end up with zero. In order for someone to win, someone else must be forced to lose. It's the ruthless way of this world. Huh. If only everyone could be happy. But there's no way an ideal world like that could exist. No, there is. That is the Golden Land. The Golden Land? What are you talking about? That's right. If you reach the Golden Land, all love will be satisfied. However, like heaven and hell, that's not a place in this world. I wouldn't want that. Love is meaning because we find it in this world. I could never support a sad lover's double suicide, where they're only reunited after death. I'll stick to my love in life. I won't lose to anyone. George-san. The door to the Golden Land can be opened by solving the epitaph's riddle. In that place, love and lives are a whole and can be revived, but... We're straying from the point. Let's hear about the second trial now. Right. What are you trying to make us do with this tear apart the lovers who are the ones who are close thing? It's quite simple. The only possible way is to tear apart two lovers is by the sad farewell of death. The second trial involves killing one of the six. Of course, any lover with their partner killed is disqualified. In short, one group of lovers must fail during this trial. You say kill so easily. What exactly are we supposed to do? You could just fight to the death. Or you could decide by a lottery of some sort. Like hell we'd choose by drawing lots. Let's have a fair and square duel. Though if we do that, I imagine that Badler-kun, the Game Master, and Beatrice, who is a Golden Witch, even though her memory is gone, will have a substantial advantage. Well, I wonder about that. Don't worry. For this trial, we have made everyone's powers equal. Even the Game Master, Lord Badler, is taking this trial on even footing with everyone else. In that case, it's fair. Is it completely and purely on even footing? Yes, it's perfectly even. In a 1-on-1 matchup, victory will be decided by luck. It's perfectly even. So it'll probably take some time before it's settled. So, is the trick to attack when you're in a superior position, I wonder? Duels that take time are of course wonderful. Why would anyone leave it up to luck? Of course we want to fight in a situation to our advantage. In that case, a three-way struggle. Won't that mean we're stuck? Bito was the first to notice. If the six were truly on an even footing, and both willing and capable of winning, one pair would have to concentrate their attacks on a single person. If that happened, then the pair containing their target would of course band together and resist. In other words, it would never be 2 against 1. It would become 2 against 2 and a matter of luck. However, at that time, any third pair who happened to be watching this could team up with whichever pair they liked with no risk to themselves, defeating the opposing pair with certainty. Sounds troublesome. It means that moving first is disadvantageous. If you step forward and fight, it's a matter of luck. If you sit and wait for the others to start fighting, it's certain victory. A fight would never begin in this situation. Maybe we could just have everyone fight the person next to them one-on-one. Then as soon as one fight is settled, the trial will be over. Unless everyone could abandon any naive hopes for a 2-on-1 fight, this trial would never begin and never end. In that case, if they made a gentleman's agreement and had everyone duel at once, it would be no different from drawing lots, but it would at least be even. That won't work. If we do that, everyone will just defend instead of fighting proactively. All they need to do is wait for someone to lose before they do. Shannon's point was a sound one. If both fighters just glared at each other without attacking, then neither would lose. All they had to do was wait for someone other than themselves to lose first. This brought them back to the starting point. No one would fight proactively. In the end, no one will move, and nothing will be resolved. Since there's this arithmetical situation where we all have the same strength, it's almost like a pizza. True. It would have been an interesting duel if our strengths were unknown. However, since we've been told we're perfectly even, this duel is no different than rock, paper, scissors. In that case, why not use rock, paper, scissors to decide it? Are you crazy? I'm not gonna do that. Even if someone does lose, there's no way they'd accept their loss. If they don't accept it, then they will be attacked by the 4 winners. In the world where all are equal, the losers will have no chance of surviving. True. Well now, is rock, paper, scissors actually the most reasonable way to settle this? It's extremely reasonable. However, if you ask me whether I'd be reckless enough to entrust my fate to a random number generator, the answer is no. Please do consider that problem. This is the second trial we have for you. Think and fight to the death. Please decide whom the sacrifice will be. True, it isn't unthinkable. The servants are the most suspicious. It isn't as though we have any physical evidence, so we can't tie them up and throw them in a closet, so we need to make sure they're always within sight of those with guns, and we keep an eye on them all the time. Anaki, we should also gather the master keys. Only the servants could have created those closed rooms. They must have done something with the chain locks using some tool or arrangement only the servants know about. They have all served us for a long time. I can hardly imagine they would commit murder. Kinzo-san's life is nearly over, and I hear the inheritance problem is still very shaky. Add on that story about 10 tons of gold being hidden somewhere. A possible payoff like that might be enough to convince certain people to commit a crime. I don't want to think about it, but there's also a chance the old bastard's running some bizarre occult ceremony. The servants of the One Wing are his pawns, and they might have been the ones to carry out the murders. How about Dad, anyway? Have we been able to contact him yet? No. The extension line isn't working either. The culprits may have broken it. And Father does sometimes leave the receiver off the hook when he's in a bad mood. When I knocked him, I only received a grumpy reply. We can't contact him, but that study's well protected. It's probably safer there, so it might be best to have him stay there. Flustered, Kraus tried to explain away Kinzo's silence. Badler the Game Master hadn't made Kinzo's death a major theme for this game, so the conversation didn't progress any further at this point. They stopped talking about Kinzo without Rudolph thinking anything was particularly suspicious. Anyway, we can't let the servants go unsupervised. I've already talked with Hideyoshi-san about this. We decided to split everyone in 2 groups on the 2nd floor and hole up in there. Why 2 rooms? Wouldn't one room be more secure? Well, if you tried to stick 12 people in one room, they'd suffocate. It would also be best to isolate the people we need to keep the closest eye on. There's Genji-san, the head of the servants, Goda-san, the largest one there, and though he's just a kid, Kanon-san is a boy. I think we need to pay those 3 special attention, Anagi. This way we can isolate that group and you and I can keep a close eye on them. With 2 guns, the pair of us could cooperate on a moment's notice. If they make even a single suspicious move, boom! I understand, let's do that. But Rudolph, we cannot be certain that they are the culprits. Don't be too pushy. You're telling me not to be pushy? We must be getting old. Right now, Hideyoshi-san is upstairs, dividing everyone into 2 rooms. We'll gather the ones being isolated in the cousin's room, and the others will go into the next room over. Alright, Anaki, what about Jessica-chan? She insists on being in the same room as you. Jessica. We're planning to have 5 people in the cousin room, and 7 in the next room over. If Jessica-san wants to go to the cousin room, it'll be split clean down the middle. If this was a wolves and sheep puzzle, there are now 3 servant wolves and 2 sheep in that room. If you add Jessica-san in, it'll be balanced out. For a while, Kraus crossed his arms in thought. The cousin room would surely be more dangerous, so he wanted his daughter to go into the next room over. However, in an emergency like this, he wanted to have his daughter where he could see her. Let's let her stay with us. We might need her to make sure we remain good dads and uncles. Yes. At the moment, even I am only trying to act in a rational manner, but I can't guarantee my sadness at losing my wife won't change to anger. Even without any physical evidence, the servants are certainly the most suspicious. During the long wait, the 2 men's weariness and anger and sadness might make them lose their reasoning and act out in anger. After thinking deeply, Kraus decided to accept Jessica's request, in part to prevent such a thing from happening. I think that's a good idea. I approve as well. I agree. It's enough that only Rose and I lose children. Rudolph. In this way, all the survivors except Kinzo split into 2 groups and holed up in 2 rooms on the guest house 2nd floor. One group was in the cousin room. Kraus, Rudolph, Jessica, Genji, Kanon, and Goda. 6 people. One group was in the next room over. Hideyoshi, George, Shannon, Kumasawa, Nanjo, and Erika. 6 people here too. Perhaps as a result of the killer's doing, the external phone line had been cut off, and they would have to wait for the ferry boats coming the next day before they could contact the police. However, the weather report said the typhoon would make the ocean rough all the next day. When such a thing happens, the ferry boat takes the day off, so it would probably be 2 days before the boat came. In other words, they would need to spend a full 2 nights holed up in here. While Eric and the others held their planning meeting in the lounge, food and blankets had been brought in to prepare for the siege. The sudden tragedy had everyone on edge, but it was already well after 2 in the morning. If they really suspected the servants, then the observers couldn't afford to fall asleep at the same time. Either Kraus or Rudolph should probably take a nap right away. Not bad. Even without the detective's authority, you've managed to take control pretty cleverly. A man who's lost his cool is no different from an emotional dog. If you treat them properly, it's easy to control them. One of the benefits of the detective's authority was being able to take charge of the situation. Because of this, Erica, who was both a guest and a young girl, had been able to order a large number of adults around at will. However, she didn't have that power this time, so Erica had taken charge of making good use of her natural conversation skills and techniques for controlling men. The detective's authority is the same as magic. You can't do anything that's impossible for you, so I guess Erica was only acknowledged as such because she already had that much power. Magic is not something given to lazy or powerless humans. Right. On the contrary, people who can hide their great efforts are the ones we call witches. The absolute nature of the detective's authority can affect even magic. However, that convenient power probably hadn't been given to Erica easily. I probably have to acknowledge it. Even if she isn't given a special power by the witch she serves, she's capable of quite a lot on her own. But Erica, why did you split them in 2 rooms? I figured you'd try to gather everyone into 1 room. I would have if I had the detective's authority. This is a move to preserve my right to investigate at will. Ah, is that it? I see, not bad. Since Erica was being protected as a guest, it was hard for her to move about freely. In truth, she wanted to take some time and investigate the victims at the crime scenes at her leisure, without being interrupted by anyone. She had already inspected the scenes once, in a huge rush as she ran through the mansion, but that probably hadn't been perfect. However, they wouldn't have let a guest into the crime scenes, so she'd have no other choice back then. She wanted some time to herself and freedom to investigate more, in part so she could check the closed rooms and causes of death more closely. How is that related to splitting everyone into 2 rooms? Because she'll be able to trick them with it. Watch. Yes, that's the only reason I split them into 2 rooms. You gotta admire how crafty she is. Cousin room was filled with a quiet tension. This room had 6 people: Kraus, Jessica, and Rudolph. And then the most suspicious ones, the male servants, Genji, Kanon, and Goda, who had been forced to hole up in here. Jessica leaned against Kraus's shoulder, wrapped in a blanket. She was drowsy, but apparently couldn't get to sleep. It was no surprise. In this bizarre situation, it would probably take some time before she could accept her mother's death. Kanon thought this was the sort of time he should stay by Jessica's side, but that looked like it would be hard to do in front of Rudolph's intimidating glare. Rudolph stayed completely silent, but his inner emotions showed clearly in his eyes. So, Genji, Kanon, and Goda didn't have to ask to realize they were suspected. Sometimes Goda asked to help in an attempt to get on their good side and correct this misunderstanding, but it seemed to be having the opposite effect. The best option available to him was to stay quiet so he didn't aggravate Rudolph, and still sit at the end of the sofa. In the next room over, there were also 6 people: Erica, Hideyoshi, George, Shannon, Nanjo, and Kumasawa. The format of the room and the constricted atmosphere was the same as the cousin room, but even so, it was relatively calm there. George sat holding Shannon, who was darkly hanging her head the whole time. Kumasawa and Nanjo sat nervously as they listened to Hideyoshi explain the situation. We don't know how many enemies there are. However, we have guns with us, and of course, I've shot guns before. I'm not talking about the Hawaii shooting center here. It's been long enough I could confess, but I once defiantly fired off one of them occupying forces' pistols. You see, back then, the black market was controlled by foreign gangsters. He probably wanted to make everyone feel secure by convincing them he could be relied upon. Hideyoshi went into one of his old stories that everyone had heard many times, and which had gotten more extravagant each time they heard it. It didn't make them any more confident in Hideyoshi's abilities, but did seem to calm things down a little by bringing in a sense of normality. Why has such a crime like this happened? I hope the boat comes tomorrow. That seems unlikely. It looks as though we'll be staying here for 2 nights. Now's a good time to get some sleep. Huh. My nerves aren't dull enough to let me sleep soundly in a situation like this. George-sama. The pain and anger of losing his mother quietly tormented George. Sleepiness probably wouldn't be coming to him for a while. Erika suddenly clapped her hands as though she had just remembered something, then whispered in Hideyoshi's ear, interrupting the old story which he had grown quite engrossed with. Sorry, I'm going to go to the cousin room for a second. There's one little thing I just need to check on with the servants over there. Can't you use the phone? You just need to dial the room number. Oh, have you forgotten? It seems the culprit has broken the phones. Wait, you don't mean you found some kind of contradiction in their testimonies? Up until this point, Erika had spent a lot of time giving the impression she behaved like a detective, so Hideyoshi immediately assumed this was something vital to do with the crime. It'll be easy to check, but it might be a huge lead. I'll be back before long. Please don't let anyone leave this room. Even though it's the next room over, it's too dangerous to go alone. You sure you don't want to take someone with you? We can't trust the servants or Nanjo-san completely. You're in charge of this room. George-san is needed to support you. There's no one left. Don't worry, the detective never gets attacked. Erika had already worked hard to look like a sharp, clear-headed person. Hideyoshi relaxed and agreed, thinking that it was just the next door and it wouldn't be a problem. After an hour, no. Better not wander around too much. I'll stay over there until morning. It'll be better if I wait until it gets light before I get back. Good thinking. You be careful now. It's just a little trip to the next room over. Take good care of this room. Please don't let anyone go outside. We've already brought everything we need up here, so there's no reason for anyone to leave. Food, drinks, blankets, medicine, towels, tissue paper, everything. The women all had their cosmetic pouches. They could last 48 hours without lacking for anything. I know. We aren't just here to protect ourselves, we are also here on the lookout for the culprit, if he's among us. I understand. Good. Goodbye, then. Where are you going, Erika-chan? We promised no one will go outside. Oh, Erika-chan remembers something important she had to do. She's going to the next room over. Don't worry, she'll be fine. Hideyoshi suspected that Shannon might be one of the culprits. Since he also knew that Shannon and George had a special relationship, he apparently thought it would be prudent to mislead George about Erika's actions and motives. Hideyoshi slowly opened the door and checked both ways down the corridor, his gun raised. It's okay. No one's there. That's far enough. For all we know, Shannon-san might take George-san hostage as soon as you leave the room, right? It's careless even just showing your back to them, as you're doing now. You're right. Then be careful. Tell me all about it later. Sure. Bye then. Erika closed the door, pushing Hideyoshi back inside. She then waited for the sound of the lock on the inside, and her smiling eyes opened wide. Her expression had been ruthless and intelligent. In this way, Erika was able to gain several hours during which all the suspects were sealed up, and she alone was free. Finally, I can investigate to my heart's content. But first, there should be a battler. Don't use my full name. Allow me to confirm the location of all characters present. Repeat it. Of course, I'm not obligated to respond, remember? If you don't, I'll just say that someone sneaked out when I wasn't looking, and this person was responsible for the bizarre crimes that are sure to follow. If you want to show me an impossible murder, you should first confirm their locations. Sure, why not? I'll listen at least, let me hear it. From now on, instead of repeating the barricaded room next to the cousin room, let's just say the next room over. Does that work for you? Sounds simple enough. Got it. And? When I check everyone's locations, as I'm about to, I'm not concerned with whether they're alive or dead. Think of it as the location of their body, and of course I'm referring to the current point in time. Here we go. The 6 first Twilight victims are located at the places where they were discovered. Natsui is in her room, Ava in the VIP room, Kyrie is in Krause's study, Rosa and Maria are in the parlor, and you are in the guest room. Don't tell me you're already going to refuse. Don't worry, I acknowledge it. First off, it was acknowledged that the victims' locations were the same as the rooms that had been shown by the Witchside's illusion. Good. I'll continue. Hideyoshi, George, Shannon, Kumasawa, and Nanjo are in the next room over. Acknowledged. With that, the humans in the room Erica had just left had been specified. Carefully checking even obvious things like that was the most basic part of playing on the human side. Good. I'll continue. Everyone else is in the cousin room. The word everyone drew a slight reaction from Battler. The intuition he'd built up from all his previous games told him not to answer this one instantly. I refuse, acknowledging that would be that Kinzo's corpse would also have to be in the cousin's room. Pardon me. It has already been shown that Kinzo no longer exists, so please remove him from the word everyone. Why using the word everyone for the cousin room alone? Why so vague? Well, you could just mention the names and cross to the other 5 individually. It'd just be too much of a pain to read out all of their names. Or is there something wrong? Does using the word everyone create a problem with some trick of yours? If Battler had been told to repeat, Kraus, Rudolph, Jessica, Genji, Goda, and Cannon are in the cousin room, he would probably have acknowledged it with a red without thinking too much about it. Of course, normally Erica would have mentioned the names of everyone inside and had him repeat it precisely. Battler had paused, feeling some kind of unease because of that unexpected demand and the word everyone. Excluding Kinzo and me, there are 17 people on this island. 6 were killed and are lying in the mansion, and 5 are in the next room over, and the remaining 6 are in the cousin room. That's a reasonable assumption to make, right? However, there are 17 people on the island, so if we subtract 6, then 5, then 6 again, we're left with 0 humans whose locations have not been checked, but that sort of assumption would be extremely dangerous. I'm pretty sure this sort of trick involving names and numbers of people caused you a lot of trouble with Nanjo's murder in the 3rd game. Good point. That trick worked because the 18 names given didn't match up with the 18 people who actually existed, leaving room to add in an unknown person. Exactly, and so I can't feel secure just by checking their locations by name. That's why I use the word everyone. That word can prevent you from using a new trick I haven't even thought of. I see. Pretty crafty of you. If Battler was planning a new trick where the names and number of people would be used to create false alibis, like the murder of Nanjo in the 3rd game, even naming off all 17 people and checking their positions left a trace of uncertainty behind. If he cleverly managed to slip somebody past the names and numbers of people. For example, let's say an unknown assassin X is hiding on this island. Let's call him Peru Pico Man. I see. Even if you list everyone's names and check their locations, this Peru Pico Man guy would fall outside the net. Precisely. Even hearing there are only 17 people on this island, and here are the locations of 17 people, is insufficient. There's already a precedent for this. However, the word everyone is just too broad. Can't you word it just a little better? No, if we run away from the word everyone here, there's a chance Erica will be able to use that as a basis for making Peru Piku Man the culprit for everything. In my old fights with you, I also nailed several riddles with no basis other than the unknown 18th person X. The word everyone is significant. Make sure you think very carefully first. Erica wore an evil, or full but evil smile, confident she had made a powerful move. Players on the witch side must eradicate all possibilities that it would be possible for humans. If I don't crush any chances for this ridiculously named Peru Piku Man right now, he'd be used to explain everything the witch does. That was a move I liked to use in my old games with Bito. Back at the very beginning of the fight, my counterattacks were all based on the unknown 19th person X. Because of that, Bito had restricted the number of people on the island, making it necessary to eliminate any unknown person hiding somewhere. In that case, this time is the same. So just like Bito did, I need to get rid of any leeway in which that X can exist. The number of people on the island has already been announced, but since she's suspecting tricks involving names and the numbers of people, saying the same thing again won't satisfy her. In that case, I have no choice but to respond to her demand and use the word everyone. That word has a disturbing ring to it, and though I haven't figured it out yet, it feels like there's some kind of demonic killer move hidden within it. Damn. After insulting Bito so much and saying the witch side has a huge advantage, I'm getting this pressure just having to deal with a single line to repeat. Deflection, right? You mean the chess term? Yes. It's a technique of putting pressure on enemy piece, forcing it to move and making them weaken their own position. I'm threatening you with the broad and powerful piece called everyone, pressuring you to move. With this, Battler-san will be able to perfectly guarantee alibis for all the survivors, and it'll probably make it possible for him to trap me in the later impossible crimes. What exactly are you afraid of? Shouldn't this be a powerful move for you? But it's a move you're pressuring me to make. You're trying to make me weaken my own position in some way. No matter how good a move seems, it's a bad move when it's what your opponent wants. However, it'll be hard to avoid the word everyone here. The red truth can cut the weak reasoning of the human side apart over and over. In the past, I feared its ruthlessness. However, I also learned quickly it could be used as a basis for a counterattack. Yes, the red truth is a trump card, a treasured sword. Now I'm painfully aware how Bito felt. It can kill with ease, but it's not something to be used unnecessarily. Using it carelessly will end up cornering the witch side instead. What will you do? We could put this on hold if you want. No. Okay, I acknowledge it. I acknowledge that everyone else is in the cousin room. Good! Thank you very much, Battler-san. Beautifully done. Oh, I'm in trouble. If a letter from a witch comes in this situation, just who could I suspect? She said she was in trouble, but her face didn't look troubled at all. On the contrary, she looked as though she had succeeded in placing a huge opening move. In a witch's game, even a single mistake can be fatal. In both chess and shogi, you can't get a piece back once you've moved it. In that last exchange had left a bad aftertaste, as though flesh had been torn and bones broken. That should be enough of confirming positions. Shall we continue the game? Yes, we shall. Delanor! Yes, Lady Erica. Let's get started right away. Let's use the privilege our merciful game master has given us. Yes, understood. Gertrude, Cornelia, use 2 rooms worth of the 3 sets of seals we were given. Let it be known that we understand. Seal the cousin room and make the next room over. With this, everyone's been sealed except for the victims. No matter what happens after this, the humans within the seals won't be a problem. By the seals on the doors and the windows, the complete sealing of both the cousin room and the next room over has been guaranteed. For just an instant, a long red sword had returned to Delanor's hand. She had been given permission to draw it, thanks to the red truth she'd finally gained. When the fight concerned these 2 sealed rooms from now on, Delanor would be able to use that merciless blade, the red key. This overwhelming power could slice even the Game Master in half. For a while, Erica and Delanor just grinned at each other, entranced by the ruthless red light that was burned into their eyes. Senior Aide, allow me to ask a question. What is it? The players on the human side are to interpret questions proposed by the witch as being the work of humans. You are not mistaken. If that is so, why are Lady Erica and Commander Delanor fighting to lower the number of humans who can commit crimes? Cornelia's question was a very simple one. Those 2 had made this move boldly, making it sound like it was a powerful one, almost as though it would greatly damage the witch. However, if you thought about it, Erica was just strangling her own neck. We still don't know what sort of crime will occur in the future. Would it not be more advantageous to the humans if there were more people whose locations are not specified? Know that now is not yet the time for the lady or the commander to reveal their thoughts. I apologize for my idle chatter. Cornelia looked like she wasn't satisfied. In the previous game, when trying to help Kinzo escape from his study, Battler had desperately tried to break free from that closed room using various methods. As a result, Kinzo had escaped into the darkness of the night, and it had later been possible to treat him like an elusive phantom. In other words, closed rooms were advantageous to witches and disadvantageous to humans. Witches proposed closed rooms, and humans destroyed and denied them. That should have been the standard tactic of this game. And yet Erica had created closed rooms herself, sealing a full 11 humans in them. In other words, this was the same as abandoning the right to use those 11 people when explaining all of their later tricks. In the past, Battler had confirmed the location of certain people, but that had been to check whether certain pieces existed with which he could break closed rooms, a completely different situation. Why had Erica taken these 11 people, who were also her pieces, and sealed them in a closed room? Cornelia hadn't experienced enough fights to understand this move, which looked as though they were trapping themselves. That's a very good point that Cornelia brings up, so maybe think on that a little bit. Why would Erica seal those 2 rooms? A disturbing move. What on earth is Erica planning? It isn't necessarily an attack. In chess and shogi, strengthening the guard around your king is an excellent strategy. In other words, the seals around those 2 rooms aren't an attack, but a guard. That seems likely. Thanks to that, it's hard to lay a hand on the survivors. It'll be tough to carry out the second twilight. Ah, I see. The witch side has an advantage when more riddles are presented. Yeah. After all, if even one riddle goes unsolved, the witch wins. Each new closed room we present increases our advantage. The riddles that the witch side sets up are equivalent to attacks. The human side must perfectly intercept all those. It's almost like a penalty shootout, where letting a single point slip by means defeat. So the witch side wants to increase its number of attacks. The human side wants to lower the number of attacks. When Battler had fought on the human side, he hadn't thought of the survivors holding up in a room as being particularly useful. However, from the witch's perspective, this strategy was simple but effective. What made Bito incredible was how she'd bluffed and sneered at this tactic, as though it was completely useless. On the inside, she must have been so worried over how to break down all the barricades in each game. Right now, I'm sure of that. I see. So strengthening your guard to make it hard for a crime to occur is one way for the human side to fight. However, that's a simple move. The great detective Fruto Erica wouldn't have looked so confident after playing a move like that. Would Erica be happy after playing a defensive move? Though this move looks like she's restraining herself, it's also extremely unlikely Erica was playing defensively. Hey, Teiro Winneris! Welcome to the stream, thank you so much for following me and being a Froggy fan. Welcome, welcome, good to see you. I'm sure this is an attack and not a move made for defense, though I don't know what kind of attack it is. Next is our move. What should we do? For the moment, she has at least apparently spent her turn on strengthening her guard to stop the second twilight, instead of reasoning about the first twilight. If they push, pull back. If they pull back, push. In that case, it's time for us to attack. But how should we attack? The guest house is well guarded. Yes, it appears as though the entire guest house is now under Erica's control. However, there are certain pieces like bishops and knights, whose specialty is cutting behind enemy lines. Battler snapped his fingers and a single gold butterfly appeared from the darkness, then flew in front of the chessboard, trailing gold sparks behind it. It landed without a sound, and then transformed into a black piece representing the witch's darkness. X-ray. That's also a chess term. Yes, it's a high-level technique. It's when a square seems to be under an enemy's control, but you've spotted that your own pieces actually have enough influence over it, so you attack. Erica. If you really believe you could stop my next attack by sealing up all the survivors, that's just naive. Battler raised his new black piece high. His target was a single open space deep behind enemy lines. How will you handle it? This is my response. Huh. Now I could finally stretch my wings. First off, let's take a midnight stroll to the mansion. You would take a stroll in the middle of the night to an eerie mansion where a killer might be hiding. You must be very insane. Not at all. I worked so hard to get this time to myself, didn't I? It feels like free time after a swimming lesson. Now that Bernkastel was nowhere in sight, Erica was regaining her high spirits. She wasn't exaggerating when she said she was spreading her wings. Delnor knew she was risking her own destruction in this game, and she was not in a favorable position by any means. Delnor could do nothing but assist Erica so she could fight to the best of her abilities. Alright, the locks on the first floor of the guest house are perfect. The entrance is sealed with a chain lock. Before leaving the guest house, Erica did a check of the first floor, making sure nothing was out of place. Then she found a flashlight and an umbrella in the servant room next to the entrance. Then, let's go... Yeah, we at least have to check the cause of death for all 6. She unset the chain, unlocked the door, and opened it. The freezing outside air poured in. It appears to be quite windy still. Well, this body's just a cage of flesh to me. I don't care if it gets wet or cold. Let's go. When Erica dropped her gaze to open her umbrella, she noticed something lying at her feet. Huh? It's one of the usual letters. It was one of the letters sent by the witch, with the seal of the one-winged eagle on it. It had been wedged under the outside mat in front of the entrance, as though someone had predicted Erica would eventually leave the mansion by this way. It was in the shadows of the large eaves, so it had avoided rain entirely. So it's here already, almost as though it was waiting for me. She bent over and picked it up. She then tore it open recklessly and pulled the letter inside out of it. A message had been written in neat letters. Welcome, Fruto Erica-sama, it says. Oh, so it's calling me by name? They totally saw this coming. What does it say? It's an advance notice for a crime. No, I should say it's a report after the fact. Apparently they had taken Ushimiya Badler's corpse. It's basically saying, please try looking for it. So this isn't the tear apart the two who are close of the second Twilight. Well, disappearing corpses happen a few times in Bito's games too. There's nothing really new about this. Erica shrugged and scorned the letter. However, this letter was a real attack. All the survivors were sealed in rooms on the second floor. And at the very end, after she had gone around with Kraus and the others to check the locks on doors and windows, Erica had personally confirmed there was nothing at the spot. So this was an attack saying, someone who shouldn't be here placed the letter, and this someone was a witch. It was also an attack that the old Bito often used. Ha, sheesh. If the way you show it is the same, please tell me the actual trick isn't the same too. Delnor, please call Badler here. Understood. Lord Battler, we wish to take our turn. Got it. Let's have it. Sorry, I actually don't have a move to declare. Huh? The truth is, there's something I need to apologize for. Apologize? Badler and Bito's eyes went wide. However, though Erica said she wanted to apologize, she had a confident look on her face, as though even that apology would be a new move. So Badler glared at her dubiously without letting his guard down. It's about those retroactive seals. I actually already sealed one place. I apologize for taking so long to report this to you. You already sealed something? In other words, you've already used up all 3 rooms worth. Yes, I promised I'd report on it right away, but I completely forgot until now. You have my sincere apologies. You don't look like someone who's sincerely apologizing. Well, that's fine. I'm the one who gave you that privilege, so... What did you seal? Delnor? Allow me to report. Badler's guest room was sealed at the time of Lady Erica's inspection of the corpses. Bito tried not to let it show on her face, but her eyebrows twitched visibly, and her gaze flicked over to Badler. Normally, I would have liked to seal all the closed rooms, but I didn't have enough packing tape. Out of respect for the Game Master, I sealed only the room with Badler-san's corpse. So you were kind enough to close the lid on my coffin. I remembered a short while ago and was planning to tell you. We reached the mansion and investigated the guest room with your corpse in it. However, when this letter appeared, I figured I should report it right away. Why did you think that? Well, After all, Badler-san had been playing this game ignorant of the fact his corpse was sealed in the guest room. Because of that, I thought it might possibly change things regarding the appearance of this letter. The cousin room and the next room over are currently sealed. Sorry for the late reports, but the guest room with your corpse in it is also sealed. And there are 17 people on this island, excluding Lady Erica. The existence of an 18th person has already been denied in a previous game. In that case, if you're thinking about some person who could have placed this letter and the disappearance of your corpse, I thought maybe... I thought this might change things around a bit. Erica laughed crudely while staring into Badler's eyes to see if he was panicked or disturbed. Badler-san. Stay calm. Erica's just made her report a bit late. There's no need to lose your cool. Erica had suspected it since the beginning. It was possible Badler actually hadn't been killed and was still alive. And if he was alive, then the letter that had suddenly appeared was easy to explain, even though all the survivors were sealed up. Judging by Bito's faint agitation, maybe Erica's guess had been right on the mark. Badler played dead and somehow got around Erica's examination. And then while everyone was barricading themselves in the guest house, he snuck out of the guest room. After that, he placed a letter detailing the disappearance of his own corpse in the entrance to the lobby, and hid himself. If that was the truth, then the seals that had been placed on Badler's guest room at the time of Erica's examination were now very significant. In other words, if this was the trick they used, then Badler would certainly have broken the seals when he left his guest room. The trick would not be workable without breaking the seals. Since the survivors were all sealed up inside the guest house, then if the seals in the guest room were broken, it meant acknowledging that at least one of the victims was actually alive. If Badler had known about the seals earlier, it was likely he would have advanced the game in a different way to avoid this. In other words, it was very likely an announcement about the seals would have had a large effect on the rest of Badler's game. Eric was saying if Badler avoided breaking the seals because he was pretending to be a corpse, and instead remained inside the guest room, perhaps this letter would not have appeared in the story. If Badler was actually alive and had placed the letter there, then now that Erica's seals had come into play, there was a chance this trick would cause a contradiction somewhere down the line. That sort of contradiction is called a logic error. A logic error? I think we heard about that really early on in this story. It's a violation of the rules, the greatest and worst form of error, which the witch side must avoid making. Yeah, I remember. It was something about the two sides of the tale not matching and creating a contradiction. Do you remember the magic for making candy appear inside an overturned cup? Yeah, Maria One-chan and Erica were fighting about that. Apparently that was just a simple trick where someone slipped the candy into the cup while One-chan had her eyes closed. That's right. Since Maria did not observe the process of the trick and was only given the results, she accepted the illusion of magic. The candy had appeared by magic inside the cup, and magic was established. Okay, so a logic error would be a trick that has become impossible. Think about it. Erica and Maria's fierce red and blue truth battle over this magic was the real opening of this tale's fight. Let's try to remember that exchange. The heartless truth was that it had all been a trick. Making the candy appear in the cup by magic had been nothing more than Beetle's claim. Magic can only do things that one can accomplish. In other words, you could only have a magical result if it's something that could have been done without magic. Let's be clear. There are two general types of magic. If you summon giants and make towers grow from the ground. But when the lid is taken off, nothing has happened in the rose garden. That's one type of magic. That's just an illusion. It's a lie with no observers that takes place where the witch says it did in a location without any of the anti-magic toxin. Magic that doesn't have to match a result is the most simple kind. A lie. This is the same as a worthless delusion. An illusion. A daydream. Even Badler saw through it partway through the third game. Then there's another kind, which we might call true magic. Magic that matches the result. The cup trick is an example of magic that matches the result, since an observer actually checks to see if the cup's contents were empty before seeing a candy appear there, and thus an actual observer of the incident is created. I've discovered one big rule that magic matching a result has to follow, unlike the magic of illusions. The rule is that only the unobserved process of what you can accomplish can be transformed into magic. I could speak even more generally and ruthlessly. In short, all forms of magic are tricks. Only things that can be accomplished without magic have a matching result. Ironically, this also proves that magic doesn't actually exist. But out of respect for the witch's game, let's call it making the game solvable and fair for the human player. So instead of the candy inside the cup, we now have this mysterious letter that appeared in front of Erika. They have to be tricks. By claiming the witch set the letter there by magic, Oni-chan is trying to create magic that matches a result. Correct. Since all the survivors are sealed within the closed room of the guest house, it is possible to embellish the suddenly appearing letter and say it was a curious bit of magic, for only a witch could have placed it there. But even so, it must be a possible trick in the end. In order to see through the trick with candy in the cup, Erika had countered with the blue truth, saying that the candy had been snuck in there when her eyes were closed. That was the correct answer, so Maria hadn't had any red she could use. But what if she had used it? For example, what if Maria had used the red truth then to say, "Until I lifted the cup up, the closed room of the overturned cup remained intact"? The red truth can only be used to refer to the truth, right? If you could lie with it, it'd be a massive violation of the rules. Yes, denying your own trick with the red truth is a major violation of the rules. However, if you instantly switch over to another trick, it doesn't violate the red truth. It may be slightly unfair, but that red truth can be acknowledged. So in the end, the witch side would need to immediately propose another trick that doesn't contradict the red truth, stating that the closed room inside the cup was preserved, like the excuses of a politician when he keeps backtracking as new evidence is shown to him. Yes, well, for a red like this, she might be able to get away with some painful excuse. Maybe there was some device in the table, or maybe it was a trick cup with a fake bottom. But if those possibilities had been denied beforehand, this would not be valid. The more red truths there are, the harder it is to talk your way out. In actuality, the candy had been put in the cup, while Maria's eyes were closed. However, if when Erika saw through that, Maria had used the red truth to say the closed room of the cup had been preserved, the witch would have to rush and revise the scenario to a new trick that still worked logically after the new red. Revising the scenario is an unfair move that would never be allowed in the mystery genre. However, the very act of revising the scenario takes place inside the witch's head, which is an unobservable world. So if she claimed she'd been using the trick with a fake bottom cup from the beginning, no one could deny it. So even if it really was a trick done while One-chan's eyes were closed, as long as the witch leaves herself a way out, she can switch between truths or tricks. Rather than calling this an action available to witches, we should probably say it's only usable by the game master, the one who creates and writes. But even so, the new truth must not contradict any of the previously stated red truths. If the red truth makes it so the trick no longer makes logical sense, then there will be a mismatch between the two sides of the story, the illusory result that the game master claims is magic, and the true result that was brought about by a trick. So when we get a contradiction and it no longer makes logical sense, we call it a logic error. That would mean the destruction of the witch's game. This world is a game that's possible to explain with humans. In other words, it must be possible for all magic to have been done by tricks as well. If it's impossible to do with tricks, then the human side has no move and we get a stalemate. No, not quite. That's where we get the fatal and horrible violation, known as a logic error. When the witch side does this, the game is instantly destroyed, and they suffer a fatal defeat. Erika's probably seen through Oni-chan's trick. Without the detective's authority, she couldn't perform a proper examination of the corpses. Because of that, he continued to play dead, snuck out of the guest room, and placed a letter at the entrance to the guest house. However, because Badler was so overly gracious in giving out those retroactive seals, things went wrong. Stupid Oni-chan. The current situation still does not warrant panic. It still hasn't been specified with Red Truth. The seals around the guest room are intact. He is free to break the seals. If he doesn't, then he could probably have it so someone other than Battler was alive, swap them in as the person who placed the letter. Hey Fate, welcome to the stream! Thank you so much for coming by. Yeah, witches are basically the best con men. That's basically what it is, isn't it? That's right. It's not just Oni-chan. The other corpses haven't been specified as dead by the red yet. So far, there wouldn't be any problem if they were all faking. True. This is far too soon for them to get flustered. All he has to do is change his move, so Erika's seals and the placement of the letter don't contradict each other. And revising the plot without contradictions is one of the moves available to the Game Master. However, taking a scenario one has imagined and revising it partway through can sometimes create flaws in its tale. It will be a very regrettable move to make one, when the first Twilight has only just ended. Hey Dan, welcome to the stream, thank you so much for coming by, good to see you too, welcome, welcome. It would seem that Battler was the one with an enemy piece moved deep behind his enemy lines. This hidden piece will probably cause him pain and discomfort, with each step from now on, like a pebble caught in one shoe. This single pebble might kill Battler. This still isn't quite a logic error, and though we sealed the room retroactively, we are at fault for the lateness in reporting it, so I have no problem with letting Battler-san retroactively rewrite the plot concerning this letter. Retroactively rewrite the plot. I see. If I placed the letter there, then that would have been impossible as soon as I was sealed in the closed room. In which case, this letter shouldn't have appeared here. Correct. So I thought you should have the chance to revise the small inconsistency. We just now discovered this letter here. We are saying that we do not mind if you wish to undo that, or if you want to use a revised scenario. Just by the existence of the letter and the packing tape, this sort of move is possible for Furuto Erika. What do you think, everyone? Damn, what a dirty move. Well, what else should I expect from Erika? I made a promise to Delanor too. We both play all out and mercilessly. That's true. I've been planning to make Battler actually alive, and then have him slip out of the guest room, resulting in his disappearance in the placement of the letter. However, if I revise the scenario now, that my move's been spotted, it'll be the same as admitting that it was spotted. Even if I have to be stubborn about it, I don't want to admit I was seen through here. I don't want to acknowledge a pathetic plot change, where I have to sneak out of the guest room and break the seals. I want to change over to a different trick, so that the letter will be placed and my corpse hidden, while still preserving the seals on the guest room. It doesn't really have to be me who places that letter. I could still revise the logic without contradictions. But Battler-san, even if you can place the letter somehow, how are you going to make your corpse vanish afterwards? The guest room is sealed. If you don't find a trick to erase the corpse from the closed room right now, a logic error will occur. I still have time. Let me think until the last second. Damn it. With a painful laugh, Battler unconsciously scratched his head. Anyway, we'll leave the letter like this. I can't say, oh, sorry about that, having the guest room sealed makes a big contradiction, so I'd like to revise my move. It would mean acknowledging she caught me. I feel like a ninja hiding above the ceiling. Even though I was noticed and stabbed by a spear, I just withstand the pain, wipe the blood off the spear and act as though nothing happened. False courage works well enough. I can't let her know that this one hurt. Battler-san. Hey, Bito. Do you know what my face looks like now? I'm sure it's the same expression you had when I managed to hit you where it hurts in the past. Huh. Damn it. Bito couldn't think of anything to say. Useless words of comfort would only get in the way of Battler's thinking now. What would the old you do? The old you who created all the closed rooms that tormented me so much in the past. What kind of trick would she use to erase my corpse from a closed room? Ugh. Ito trembled and groaned. The old her had been an expert at closed room tricks. If only that memory, that power could be revived, she would be able to help Battler. There's still time to think. There's still time. Nice going, Erika. That was a dirty move. That's a really dirty move by Erika, but also extremely clever. The entrance to the mansion was locked, but Erika had a master key, so she opened it without any trouble. She had gotten Kraus and the others to take the master keys from the servants, and at that time she used a little sleight of hand to pilfer one of them. Well then, where shall we go first? Why ask? Let's go and hear Badler-san's answer. Grinning, Erika cut across the entrance hall and passed in front of the dining hall. Deeper, deeper. She headed for the guest room Badler had lain dead in. Badler could put off deciding whether the seals would remain whole or not until the moment right before Erika witnessed them. However, once she did witness them, the game master would have to show what had happened to them. In the witch's game they were in now, the simple act of going to check the seals around the guest room was an attack. Are you ready, Lord Battler? Yeah. Or as you say it, come, step forward. Good. Then show us your response, then. Well now, are the seals broken or are they not? Has the closed room been preserved or hasn't it? The piece Erika held high in the air was the White Queen, which represented herself. Her target was Badler's camp. She attacked. Erika dashed down the hallway with a sickening smile and clung to the guest room door like a spider. Then she closely examined the seal she had placed retroactively. Are you sure? You are sure about this, right? Badler-san? Is this okay, Badler-san? Yeah, I can't back down here. After all, even if I'm sealed in here, there are ways of placing the letter. Now Erika will probably enter the guest room, and she will observe your corpse. What are you going to do? If the corpse is there, then there's no problem. The letter's prediction will be off, but it's not as though there's a penalty for that. Still, you intend to fight head-on. There are times when a man is challenged head-on, but he has to respond no matter who the opponent. I must not pull back here. I'll take that challenge. I can search for a way out if I want to later. I managed to do that with Kinzo's study last time. Don't worry, I can do it, I can do it. Come on, Erika. We have confirmed that the seals to the guest room are undamaged. Since the time Lady Erika confirmed Badler's presence, this closed room has been preserved. Good. I'm breaking the seals. Rip and tear. Erika destroyed the packing tape seal on the door in ecstasy. It looked as though the intellectual rap artist had finally laid her true nature bare. Okay, I'm opening it. Let's have a look. At Badler-san's naked scenario. Like a ruffian pushing down a frail girl, Erika mercilessly and greedily threw the door open. Then finally, the inside of Badler's guest room was observed by Erika. Yeah, right, they used like a direct translation of what Erika says, but my chat suggested I say rap artist instead, and I actually really like that. Then I don't have to say the word. Badler had to show it. Was there a corpse or wasn't there? Come on, Badler. Here's my response. Badler grabbed the black piece on the board and raised it high. That piece. Vito had no memories of the time she had been expert at this game, and yet for some reason she realized that this was a move that could not be taken back. I love how intense this entire situation is, and yet all it is Erika opening a door and checking inside. Like, they do such a good job of making it so intense, I love it. Once this piece was moved, they couldn't move it back. Ugh! The guest room was covered by a silent darkness. It was pitch black and nothing could be seen. However, there was a light switch just off to the side of the entrance. If she flicked that, the room would be lit up, and she would see whether or not there was a corpse on the bed. Shall I turn them on? No. Wait a second, please. Badler-san, I have a proposal. Let's hear it. I think you already know, but this time around, I'm not aiming to find the culprit and achieve a standard victory. My enemy is not the lowly culprit killing the pieces, but my opponent, you, yourself. I know. So you're after a logic error. I'm seriously regretting it now. Even though you were just pretending to be miserable, I fell for it completely and gave you a ridiculous ability. That was your pride. It will cost you dearly. Damn it. So, what is your proposal? The firm voice Bito urged her to continue. Until just a second ago, she had remained behind Badler's back, a bit flustered. However, she was steady now. She saw that Badler had let his emotions take control of him and had been lured into making a bad move, and realized this was time for her to stay cool and support him. Erica's proposal couldn't be anything good. And on top of that, Erica was sly. She probably wouldn't make a proposal that would be easily rejected. I will now turn on the light. The top of the bed will be lit up, and it will be decided whether or not Badler has disappeared as the letter predicted. If he's there, great. There's nothing strange at all. The letter's prediction would just be wrong. Of course, the argument would probably switch over to then who put the letter there. But for the time being, the location of the fight would move outside this closed room. And if he's missing, Ito already knew. She knew the move that Badler had made just a second ago. Badler had already disappeared from this room. Therefore, they would need to prepare a disappearing trick other than he was actually alive and left through the door. The situation's simple. First, this room is a closed room. Also, Badler's life or death status hasn't been confirmed. In other words, him being alive wouldn't cause any problems. They had to make Erica think that Badler had vanished from the situation. He just had to escape from this room. Or if that wasn't possible, he just had to hide somehow and wait for her to leave, making her think he disappeared. Inside this tiny room, I will now begin our endgame. The chase after the king. It should end in just a few moves. You'll be unable to construct the logic needed to let Badler escape from this room, and the tale will be destroyed. Game over. Fighting to keep that from happening is our job. What is this proposal of yours? An endgame fought over a logic error should be a bit more precise. Once again, we will fight with the red and blue truths, but we need a referee on the same level as the game master to observe and see he doesn't create any logic errors with the red truth. That seems reasonable. There's nothing special about this. Back when the old you was the game master, you were under the observation of your guardian, Lady Lambda Delta. In that way, it was judged that all red truths were valid. So you're telling us to show Lambda Delta our cards. I've been watching since the beginning. It's okay, don't worry. I'm impartial in my judgments. Can you say that in red? Yep. I swear I am impartial in my judgments. I was plenty impartial in the last game, wasn't I? Especially for interesting judgments where she doesn't care which way it falls. Accept it, Badler. Erica is going to corner you. Understand? She will duel with you and kill you in this room. If you're a man, accept the duel. Sure, fine. We won't get anywhere if you suspect every single impossible murder I show being a logic error. It's true we need an observer to guarantee the game is legitimate. Then I'll come around to your side. Let me take a look at your hand. Lambda Delta understood what Badler had up his sleeve, and she saw that Erica's first move had indeed gone straight through his heart. Just as Erica had guessed, Badler was alive and had slipped out of the room after Erica examined his corpse, placed the letter by the guest house, and hid himself somewhere. When the packing tape seals had been retroactively placed on the guest room, he would have had to show that they'd been torn. However, if he had done that, it would be the same as admitting he'd been seen through and he'd lost. Unwilling to admit that, Badler had claimed the seals had been maintained with false courage. It was now rushing to revise his logic. True, he could still escape for a few more moves. However, Eric was planning to corner and kill him here. Badler, you're fighting with some pretty incredible cards here. Cards? Does this game of chess look like a card game to you? To me, it looks like you're all playing a game of poker. So by moving to this side and looking at the cards you hold, I understand everything. That's an awful move. It's a complete waste, and Eric has already seen right through you. Huh. What would you do? I'm the referee, I can't give you advice. But let me tell you my impressions. No, that's okay. It's chilling. You're trying to use this useless move. This baseless bluff. to make Erika back down. She's not going to back down, that girl. After all, you're the one who should be throwing in his chips and folding now. Thanks for the advice. Rather-san, I agree with her. Let's back down from the fight in this room. We don't have any winning cards. Were you hoping to discard your cards and draw something more useful? I thought you were playing chess. In the world of chess, if you rely on luck, you die. By hoping to draw something useful, she meant relying on luck and betting that, even if he couldn't think of a trick now, he might think of a good plan for making a closed room trick later on. If you enter into the fight without any trick in mind, you get killed. Now was the time to back down. When Erika flipped the switch, he just had to be sleeping there on that bed. That's all he needs. Lambda, I don't know what you're talking about, but you're chatting too much. A referee needs to be impartial. True. Then good luck, battler. I'm hoping for a precise chess-like battle. You aren't playing poker, are you? Are you ready, battler-san? Yeah, I am. Turn the lights on whenever you want. For the rest of the fight in this room, the progression of time will be stopped. This way, all the moves for both players will be made at the same time, and the first move will be treated no differently than the last move. It might be hard to understand, but this rule exists for the purpose of maintaining logic, and to keep you protected as well. From here on out, you can use all the twisted logic you want to rebuild the trick in this room. In other words, it's possible you might think of a good idea partway through the fight. Normally, it's unfair to revise your plot partway through. In order for that to be acceptable, you need a world stopped in time, where everything happens at once, and where logic that you think of afterwards can counter your opponent's earlier moves. Of course, Erika could take advantage of this rule as well. If you revise your trick to be a new one, she could deal with that in a different way. This is pretty complicated. It's simple. It's like a corrupt politician's war of twisted logic. You lie shamelessly. When evidence is shown revealing that lie, you retract those previous lies and shamelessly say you were just remembering it wrong, then change to a new lie that doesn't have any contradictions. The fight goes between a lie, then evidence exposing it, then another lie, like a fight between two snakes spinning around trying to eat each other's tails. Good. Just think of it as a world in which you're allowed to use twisted logic based off your opponent's moves as often as you want. I use that myself when sealing this room, so I thought it was only fair to let you do the same. You have no shame, do you? Okay, then let's have both sides begin. Will Erika take the first move? Will she start by checking the bed? By checking to see what he's bet? Yeah, let's start by checking to see if Battler's on the bed. Erika, begin. Leave it to me, my master. Light on. The click. The sound of the light switch rang out, and the bulb turned on, lighting up the room. On Battler's bed was... Delanor, confirm it with the red. Yes. Ushimi a battler. No, it's my move. I'll say it. Ushimi a battler is not on the bed. Good. I'm glad you didn't run away from this fight. I'm impressed. It's a high-stakes battle, so it'll cost you a lot if you're the one who loses. Are you prepared? No one would raise the stakes unless they felt confident in their advantage. Eleanor, keep a record. As you wish. At Delanor's nod, Cornelia, who was hanging back, started taking a record. She wrote down that Battler's corpse, which should have been on the bed, was not, and also that Battler hadn't backed down from this closed room game. As previously announced, Battler's first move is to have the corpse vanish. Now it's Erika's turn. Go ahead. I present the possibility that Ushimi Battler is alive and hiding somewhere in this room. I proclaim this with the blue truth. Invalid. If you want to use the blue truth, give me a specific location. In the last game, Bito did that in Kinzo's study, and Delanor made Swiss cheese out of her, right? Are you trying to take revenge for that? Before I start searching, I have one blue truth I can use without a search. There is a possibility of a hidden door X that is impossible to discover. He's hidden behind that, so it's impossible for me to find him. Nox is third. It is forbidden for hidden passages to exist. Isn't that right? No hidden places that are impossible for Erika-san to find exist inside the guest room. Nox is third. Valid. Good. Then let's get started with the search. Erika slowly began to walk around the room. Until the endgame had started, Erika had been energetic, jumping about impatiently like a hungry dog. However, now that it actually begun, this was a stifling battle of wits, where each breath made her tense. Even the quiet sound of the rain was distracting. Now I've searched the room, let's confirm its layout. The guest room is divided into two rooms, the bedroom and the bathroom. Lady Erika has currently searched the entire bedroom section. There is only one exception. I'll leave that one place for the time being. So, were there any irregularities discovered in the bedroom? There were none. Except for one location, there is no one to be seen in the bedroom. What's this except for one location business? Say it without being annoying. There's a reason a face-down card remains face-down. I'll turn it over if it's needed, so look forward to it. After thoroughly checking the bedroom, Erika headed for the bathroom door. Since he wasn't in the bedroom, it was natural to think he was in the bathroom. And since the guest room was made of two rooms, if Badler wasn't in the bathroom either, it would mean he had managed to vanish from the closed room. Except for that single location that Erika had intentionally left unchecked. I'm checking the bathroom. Lady Erika, the sound of water can be heard from inside. Also, there is a faint heat. Oh, don't tell me he's taking a shower. Is it locked or something? No, it isn't locked. Go ahead and open it. Then, if you'll allow me. Slowly, Erika put her hand on the doorknob on the bathroom door. She tried to push it open, but felt a strange resistance. Of course, it wasn't the resistance of the lock. It felt as though it had an unnatural load on it. Out from the slightly open crack poured the hot air from the shower. However, it was unlocked, so there probably wasn't anyone taking a shower. After letting a dumbfounded expression rise to her face, Erika slammed into the door with her whole body, knocking it open. Huh? What? As soon as she opened the door, a hot blast poured out on her. Erika froze, unable to understand what had happened. After falling backwards on her butt, she realized that boiling hot shower water was spewing out at her and hard. But what is this? What a crazy prank. Cursing, Erika wrapped the blanket from the bed around herself and tried to enter the bathroom once more. This time she was able to figure out what was going on. It was quite an elaborate prank. A wire fixed the shower nozzle in place so it pointed at the entrance. The pressure and heat were turned up to the max, so that anyone who went through the door would be met with a wave of hot water. The pressure was very strong, which probably accounted for the weight she felt when trying to push the door open. She tried to make the nozzle point in another direction, but not only was it fixed in place by the wire, it was also fixed in a high place that Erika couldn't reach it with her height. She tried to turn off the pressure, but that was also held in place by wires. She couldn't manage anything with her bare hands. She would have to get a tool that could cut the wires. However, when she looked into the bathtub, which was overflowing with very hot water, she saw a bundle of wires and some nippers that had been used to cut them lying at the bottom. If she used that, she could turn off the pressure. Ow, ow, ow! Damn you. The blanket she had used to protect herself in the shower was getting more and more drenched with boiling hot water. At this rate, she'd get burns even through the blanket. She needed to turn the water off quickly. Right next to the bathtub, she saw a hanging, long-handled body brush. Perfect. Erika used that to skillfully scrape the nippers up off the bottom of the tub. Fortunately, it was a shallow, Western-style bathtub. If it had been a deep Japanese one, it probably would have burned her badly. Making sure not to touch the hot metal parts, she carefully took the nippers. Cut the wires around the faucet. Take that and that. She finally managed to turn the hot water faucet, and the heat from the hot water storm died down. For a while, Erika was forced to cool her almost burnt arms under running water. What's a calamity? Would you like a bath? I can wash your face with this brush. I appreciate the sentiment, but no. Oh, that's a shame. Erika had finally regained enough of her composure to be abusive. She turned off the faucet completely, and silence returned to the bathroom. After that, all that remained was Erika's heavy breathing. She turned on the fan to get rid of the hot steam. She had to leave the bathroom until that was finished. It was pleasant, like stepping into an air-conditioned room on a hot summer's day. Now that was a ridiculous trap. However, that wasn't here at the time I examined Badler's corpse. Therefore, the appearance of this trap proves that Ushime Badler was alive. Well, I never thought he was dead anyway. So he decided to openly show a card that had already been exposed. Let's check the inside of the bathroom. Was Badler seen? No. No one was seen in the bathroom. Good. Now we've confirmed that, except for one location, Badler does not exist anywhere inside the guest room. Give it a rest. Just where is this one location? A coffin. Ushime Badler's coffin, that is. Ashes to ashes, the dead to their coffins. You plan to trap me in this room, right? Okay, let's have it. A silence that was complete except for the rain was suddenly filled with the smell of gunpowder. Though it was extremely quiet, the room was filled with tension, as though you'd be sliced in half if you relaxed for a second. A cloud of gold butterflies gathered on the room's round table and turned into a witch's chessboard. It was finally time for her attack. Blue Truth, you did not vanish from this room. You just hid yourself to make it seem as though you disappeared from a closed room. The place you're hiding is the one exception I haven't investigated yet. As Erika lightly raised her right hand, a single gold butterfly appeared from the darkness behind her, flitted between the index finger and middle finger of Erika's raised hand, and became a white piece. Then she lifted it high into the air. This is the one exception. The walk-in closet next to the entrance. Like a falling white lightning bolt, the white piece hit the board, landing by a weak spot in Badler's formation. Yes, it is here. With a crash, the door of the closet, which is just off to the side of the guest room's entrance, was impaled by a spear that represented the Blue Truth. Delnor had spun around and thrown it. The door was completely pierced, and the spear stuck in so deeply that if a human had been hiding in it, it would have pierced their chest as well. Its still quivering handle was a testament to the force with which it had been thrown. There are no places in which to hide other than this. You are now hiding in here. What do you say, Badler-san? Have you been struck through the chest for a little smothered mate? Badler-san, it's our move now. Yeah, I thought it'd be like that, Erika. You intentionally left one spot open so you could stuff me into that coffin. It's the same move that trapped Kinzo in Natsui's room. I saw it coming. Oh, did you? Then let's see your response. But let me make a prediction. Let's hear it. I'll checkmate you 2 moves from now. That's my prediction. Then I'll make the same prediction. I'll checkmate you in 2 moves. Sounds interesting. These predictions contradict each other. Who will be the liar, I wonder? The air burst and sparked. The silence would hurt one's skin. Then, go. It is your turn. It's useless. Your lowly coffin won't be able to trap Badler-san. Here's my response. Slowly, Badler moved his hand over the chessboard. The gold butterfly that had appeared from the darkness rested on Badler's finger and became a black piece. That black piece was the king, which represented Badler. This is my response. To your Badler is hiding in the closet. Take this! Ushime Badler does not exist within the guest room. There are no exceptions, including the closet. Like a black bolt of lightning this time, Badler slammed his piece down on the white piece of Erika's that had cut deep behind his lines, crushing hers. It scattered like a golden spray and melted beautifully into the darkness, as a faint cloud of gold sparks drifted about. I see. So he hid in the closet at first, and then slipped out of the room while Erika was occupied by the shower. It's the same technique he used to let Kinzo escape from the study in the last game. Distract the observation of the observer and disappear into the darkness. Good. Of course, yes, of course. I'd already foreseen that move. Next was Erika's turn. A gold butterfly popped into existence in front of Erika, and she grabbed it right out of the air. She then lifted that hand into the air and raised the white piece high. Let me announce a retroactive move. This occurs back in the very beginning, right after I broke the seals and entered this room. At that time, I immediately closed the door, reset the chain, and sealed this room. Objection! Go to sever the chain back when the crime was first discovered. Since the chain lock is not functioning, it is impossible to use it to create a seal. Objection overruled. Erika repaired the chain lock. See? Impossible! How could she have repaired a brass chain? It was possible. Have you forgotten, Bito? The packing tape seals. Erika used that packing tape to join the two cut ends of the chain together, sealing them. In other words, the chain was repaired by the packing tape, and this room once again became a closed room locked from the inside. Objection! Erika-san has already used up all her packing tape seals, hasn't she? She shouldn't be able to use them anymore. Objection overruled. The use of the packing tape wasn't limited by the number of strips, right? It was by the number of rooms. The only restriction was to limit only to 3 rooms. Erika chose this guest room to be one of those rooms, so Erika has the right to seal as many places, as many times as she wants within this room. That's right. I gave her permission to do that. This is the cost of your pride. Sympathy is the evil liquor that the proud are most fond of. So, with this retroactive move, I proclaim that the chain lock has been repaired by the packing tape seal and has regained its original functionality. And thanks to that, I locked the room upon entering it and made this guest room a closed room from the inside once more. The white piece Erika held aloft represented the seal caused by the chain lock. This move would draw out Badler's king and drag it to the guillotine. Die, Badler. The piece for the chain lock was slammed down right as Badler's king's throat. Repeat it. The lock created by the chain is currently intact. Ugh. Badler's face contorted. Bito, who was watching from behind, grimaced even more. This move was very painful. If his logic had him hiding in the closet until Erika left, using the uproar in the bathroom to escape, then the chain lock must have been undone. In other words, he couldn't respond to her demand. If he didn't respond, Erika would use the blue truth in her next move. She would probably say, "You hid in the closet, then used the disturbance in the bathroom to escape. Since you then couldn't set the chain lock from the outside, you left it undone." And she would be right. This was checkmate. As Erika had predicted, she would strike the finishing blow on the second move. And on top of that, she would probably use the disappearing Badler to solve most of the crimes that were to follow. Losing the battle in this closed room would steal a major deciding piece from Badler. But what if he responded to her demand? What if he could say the lock created by the chain is still intact? That would be fatal to Erika. It had already been shown with the red truth that this guest room could only be made into a closed room from the inside. So this hopeless closed room would instead become Erika's coffin. With a riddle of that magnitude, Erika probably wouldn't solve the mystery of Badler's disappearance before the end. Each unsolved riddle gives an advantage to the witch side. Badler wanted to respond to this demand, if at all possible. However, if he answered by saying the chain was still set, he would have to abandon the logic saying he had escaped while Erika wasn't looking. Once he escaped, he wouldn't be able to set the chain lock again. It would make a riddle to corner Erika, but he would have to construct a different escape method. Even a move such as him leaving the closet during the scene in the bathroom in hiding in another place, say under the bed, wouldn't work, because he had proclaimed that Badler does not exist within the guest room. If he could construct logic that allowed him to escape from here, while preserving the chain lock's position, then Erika would be the one facing a fatal blow. However, if he didn't have that logic, if he failed, it would be a logic error, the worst and lowest forbidden move that would instantly end the game in his defeat. He would have no way to recover. For Badler, deciding how to respond to this demand was a very advanced and difficult decision. Either way, Erika would probably corner him. In that case, my choice is obvious. Badler-san, this guest room has already been restricted in many ways by the Red Truth due to its closed room nature. How do you plan on escaping from this? If only I could do something about the chain lock. If only. If he could somehow get around the chain lock, he could force Erika to deal with a terrible closed room. It would probably end up as a finishing blow to her. But in order to do that, he would need to make a trick for escaping the closed room that existed before Erika came back, which was now the closed room sealed by the chain Erika set right after entering the room. And on top of that, he had to make sure the chain could only be set from the inside remain in place. If he could do that, if he could find a way, then it would end here. I still can't think of that trick. Right now, Erika's demanding to know whether the chain lock is still set or not. I need to decide whether I'll take that challenge or back down, and I need to do it right now. If I can find a certain win trick, then this is the end. But if I don't have that trick, I should just acknowledge I slipped out of the closet, undid the chain and escaped, backing out of the fight. If I say the chain was set without any trick up my sleeve, then it's impossible for me to escape. In other words, it's a logic error. Even if we lose the fight in this room, there will still be chances left to us. We've still only just started the second day, haven't we? We have plenty of time to reconstruct an impossible murder. No, that's no good. If I acknowledge I've escaped from this room, it's the same as acknowledging I'm the culprit. If I back down for the fight in this room, it's the same as accepting my defeat in this game. Badler's point was a valid one. Since all the other humans were still locked in the guest house, then if Badler alone was alive and free to move, Erika would probably base her explanation for all the following impossible crimes on the blue truth that Badler was the perpetrator. If they wanted to forcefully turn that around, they would have to rewrite their tricks and logic so that someone other than Badler would set up as the perpetrator. If they fixed up one flaw, they would give rise to new flaws, which might eventually pile up and kill Badler. Even running away would mean tightening the noose around his own throat. The first truth, that Badler is the culprit, has already been hit upon, and yet, I have to struggle desperately to get out of this. I need to. I'm on the edge. I've definitely been cornered in a dangerous spot. However, if I could just change my position, everything might turn around at once. If I could just make this chain my weapon, I could kill Erika. Wait, are you actually going to respond to her demand? Is there any other way to escape without undoing the chain lock? There isn't. If you respond, you'll lose instantly from the logic error at the end. It's clear which choice we have to make. Yeah, it's clear. No matter what move we choose, it'll turn out for the worst just as Erika wants. It's horrible either way. I'd like to choose the move that has the biggest reward if we win. You're going to call even though you have no logic for escaping and no trump cards? You think you can accept her demand and win? My cards might be useless. However, with just one more card, they might become a straight, in a flush, or even a royal flush. If hell waits for me after both options, I'll take the one that'll finish her off if I win. That's an insane move! Sometimes madmen leap into the path of death. So miracles occur. It's impossible. How could you escape this closed room without removing the chain? There's only one difference between heroes and madmen. It's whether they win or lose. I'll be looking forward to your big victory. If I can finish things with this move, then, as I predicted, I can kill Erika on my second move. I still can't think of a trick for escaping the closed room. However, there has to be something. There has to! Once I think of that, I can make a magic illusion of me changing into a butterfly and slipping out of the crack in the door like smoke. If I even have a drop of that mad magician's blood in my veins, please let that honor give me just a fragment of a miracle right now. So, Badler-san, let's have that second move you predicted you'd checkmate me on. Please give an answer to Lady Erika's demand. Will you respond, or will you refuse? Slowly, Badler's hand stretched out to his king piece on the board. He lifted it up and slowly held it aloft, tracing a large circle in the sky. Would Battler respond, or wouldn't he? Would the lock caused by the chain be preserved, or wouldn't it? Would Battler's king crush the piece of the chain lock that stood right in front of it? Or would it slip away like a ghost and escape? This is my response. As predicted on the second turn of mine, you're through. Here comes Fruto Erica. Battler's king had become a black lightning bolt that crashed down on the board. Where had it gone? On top of the piece of the chain lock, or past that piece? I will repeat it. The lock caused by the chain is intact. Battler's king had left the chain lock piece in its place and had slipped past it. Yeah, it sure would be cool if you could say that chain lock was still set, wouldn't it? Don't you think that'd be cool? But do you know what they call a fool who's full of himself and jumps into the path of death just because it's cool? No clue. Ushimiya Battler. That's what we call them. I file a motion for a logic error. That red truth of yours just now has cut off your own logic. Please have the impartial referee make a judgment immediately. Great Lady Lambda Delta. Motion received. Lambda Delta. Does this make logical sense? Your inspection, please. Motion received. Battler. Show me. Let me see your cards. Battler-san. It is a royal flush. Right? You got nothing. You won't get out of this with just a sorry, okay? Yeah. I have no intention of apologizing. If it's a logic error, the game board will be blown away. You've inherited this game board from Bito. It's the one thing you have left of that precious Bito, so you must not allow for a logic error. A logic error only becomes established when the witch admits to it. As long as they can keep thinking of new logic to escape with, they will not die, cannot die. However, that would be like living in an endless living hell of the mind. Even if you manage to crawl around forever after falling into the darkness of thought, you'll just be eternally trapped in a hell where you constantly think of ways to escape that closed room while refusing to accept your logic error. Are you sure? Are you sure? This is nearly as bad as the depths of oblivion, got it? It's like the difference between falling from the roof of a 10-story building and falling from the roof of a 100-story building. Lambda. Battler has already finished making his move. Players can't take back a move once it's made. Act as an impartial judge, carry out our motion, and see whether or not Battler's escape from the closed room logic is logical, and whether there's been a logic error or not. Be slow, accurate, and meticulous like an archaeologist, and be as fast as a guy in an ice cream shop when he forcefully and skillfully scoops out that sweet, fragrant vanilla soy sauce ice cream. Yes, I know that! Battler, let me see it. Battler-san. Bito, do you think I'd lose? I don't want to think that. After fighting with the old me many times, I finally reached the miracle that I so wanted you to find. So I'd like to believe that you'll win through a miracle once again. This woman called Beatrice. The whole time she fought on the same border between reason and madness. She fought with a mixture of sadness, anger, and several other emotions for me that can't be described with words. And in the very last game, the very last moment, she managed to seize victory. That might have been the purpose of the card Bito had been gripping as she fell. Bito passed away without realizing she had won. In the final game, the true victor was Bito. That Bito entrusted me with this game board, so I'll win. So I need at least you to believe in me. Beatrice! If I believe and a miracle occurs, please. I do believe in you, Battler-san. This is pissing me off! Please just check it already, Lady Lambda Delta. There's no valid logic. There doesn't exist any way to get out of this closed room. You were overeager, Battler-san. If you could win with this, that'd be cool. If you just vanished even though the chain is still set, that'd make you so awesome, so cool, so mysterious. Hold me. Like hell you can. Like hell you can do it. If you could do that, you really would be a witch. If you could vanish your way out of this closed room like a puff of smoke, I'd have to acknowledge it. It'd be the worst. It'd be the work of a witch. Wyatt, Lady Erica. Lady Lambda Delta is conducting her inspection. That track that we just heard is one of my favorites, and it's like one of the high points of episode 6. The track is called Infant Queen Bee, and someone on YouTube pointed out that that's an interesting name because Infant Queen Bee, you'd be like, what does that have to do with anything? When a queen bee is born, you know, a queen bee is the one who takes control of the hive, right? There could only be one queen bee. When an infant queen bee is born, the first thing she does is she kills all the other queen bees in their eggs so that she's the only one. Pass through one move. Go back and corner. With sweat gathering on her forehead, Lambda Delta inspected the movements of the pieces from Badler's side. She was as accurate and meticulous as an archaeologist, just as Kirostyle told her to be. After gulping stiffly, Lambda looked several times between the formation of the pieces on the board and Badler's face, which remained tense but steady. Lambda, I have finished my inspection. There's no way the logic works. Please, God. Erica? What? I'm so sorry. Which way am I supposed to take that? It was fun. Now this is the end. I told you, which way am I supposed to take that? Silence. I finished inspecting Badler's move. My decision is that... it's valid. Valid? You're lying. I judge it to be valid. He's presented logic that doesn't violate any of the red truths, and I finished checking it. The move by the player on the witch side, along with that final red truth he repeated, are valid. Badler, for the first time, I've gotta say, I think you're incredible. See? In your game, a miracle will always occur if you believe. Badler-san, I'm sorry. If only I believed more strongly, you wouldn't have been cornered like this. Ito flew out into Badler's chest, sobbing. Erica staggered backwards, shaking her head back and forth dizzily. And Kirostyle? Her face was like an expressionless mask. Then slowly, it became a smile. And for some reason, it seemed the sign of some horrible emotion. Well done. To think that you escaped the room without removing the chain. Simply splendid. The song already made you feel really worn out. You feel like Beatrice right now. Me too, me too. With her small hands, Delnor slowly started to applaud quietly. She was followed by Gertrude, and then Cornelia, and then by Bito and Lambda Delta too. Applause filled the room. Oni-chan, how did you... I see. Yes, a move that cannot be seen by one whose thoughts are trapped within the closed room. Impossible! Impossible! As Lambda Delta watched Erica, who was breathing hard, shocked and dizzy with despair she couldn't accept, she had to take her hat off to the swiftness of Badler's heart and intellect, and to the power of this miracle. Incredible, Ushimiya Badler. It's my complete loss for thinking that your power and Bito's would cancel each other out and bring an eternal draw. And Burn, who thought everything would move according to her plan even though she already knew your true strength, has already suffered a complete loss. Burn is the witch who waits for miracles. You are the witch who summons miracles. You are not Burn's piece. Just now, without a doubt, you have surpassed Burn. You really did. In this one moment, think up a trick by which to escape from this closed room. As Erika had predicted, Badler had been hiding in the closet. Then, during the disturbance in the bathroom, he had snuck out of the door. Erika had guessed this much. That's why they retroactively set the chain lock and sealed it to prevent Badler from doing this very thing. The chain lock cannot be reset from the outside, so it should have been impossible to escape from the closed room. However, Badler didn't let his thinking get trapped inside this closed room, and so he broke through. It doesn't matter who, but let's explain it with his mother, Kirie's piece. Just like Badler, the life or death status of the rest of the first Twilight victims had not been specified by the Red Truth. In other words, just like Badler, the others, and Kirie specifically, can still move. And their closed rooms were not sealed, so they can go out as they please. Kirie had come to save him. Kirie followed behind Erika and waited in the hallway while the latter entered the guest room and sealed the door from the inside. Then after Badler undid the chain lock and escaped, she entered the room in his place. Then Kirie reset the chain lock from the inside and hid in the closet, just as Badler had done. Yes, Badler truly isn't inside the guest room right now. However, that doesn't mean that no one else is inside it. Kirie took Badler's place in that closet, the one exception that Erika had left, and is still there. See, like, if we look at... Here, I just want to confirm this. So, the life or death status of the people that are corpses is just grayed out. We don't know because we weren't able to perform a detective's search of their bodies. Kirie saved Badler. Ushimiya Kirie cannot save Badler. Huh? What do you mean? Ushimiya Kirie cannot save Badler. Why not? There's no red saying Kirie can't save Badler. Wait a second, how are you using the red truth? Valid. Delnor's red truth is valid. Requesting permission to unsheath red key. Permission granted. Please do it, Delnor. How? How can you give that permission? It's valid. As a result of an impartial judgment, I guarantee this red truth. Without telling us your reason? We'll tell you that soon. Very soon. Badler hasn't proclaimed Kirie dead with the red truth yet. It is allowed for Kirie to be playing dead, and the packing tape has already been used on 3 rooms, making it impossible for you to seal Kirie's room. So how can you use the red truth to say Kirie can't save Badler? That red truth has no basis. We'll tell you its basis soon. But more importantly, Lambda, the logic with Kirie has ceased to function. You should probably find another piece to switch places with Badler, don't you think? Ugh. Yes. There are still pieces that can save Badler. Reconstruct the logic. All we need is someone who can switch places with Badler. It doesn't have to be Kirie. Then let's switch it to Natsuhi. Ushimi and Natsui switch places with Badler. Delnor, do it. As you wish. Delnor's red longsword smashed Natsui's piece into little bits. How? How can Erika deny this logic without the detective's authority? Ushimi and Natsui cannot save Badler. Then Ava! Ushimi Ava! Ushimi Ava cannot save Badler. Then Rosa, Maria. Useless. Rosa and Maria cannot save him either. Death, death, death. Death, 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 death. Die the death. Sentenced to death. The great equalizer is death. I just got an achievement that says, they cannot save you. Objection! Erika-san doesn't have the detective's authority. How could she use any red except for the packing tape seals? Objection overruled. Not having the detective's authority does not imply one cannot use any red at all. There's something she can use, right? Yes, there is. There are several exceptions that even humans without the detective's authority can use. Insane! There's no way! Yes, there is none. However, there is a certain action permissible only to humans without the detective's authority, and it can become a truth of such overwhelming credibility that witches can easily raise it to the level of red truth. A certain action permissible only to humans who aren't the detective. You don't mean... Erika, you... I've got it. Yes, if I'm right, this red truth is valid. I don't understand. Was there some power that could only be used without the detective's authority? There is. There is just one. So you finally noticed. That's right. There's the only reason I'd abandoned the detective's authority this time around. You told me I could make the detective proclamation whenever I wanted, right? Well, unfortunately, I am no longer capable of making that proclamation. Which Nox rule was it? Nox's 7th. It is forbidden for the detective to be the culprit. You mean... What? Finally, Bito realized everything. Yes, the detective's authority bestows several powers or useful reasoning, but it eliminates one single privilege. That is Nox's 7th. It is forbidden for the detective to be the culprit. In this game, it is impossible for humans without the detective's authority to examine corpses perfectly, so there have been several tricks where the dead have all been faking and walking around where they please. You probably thought you could use that logic to create several impossible crimes after this. When I said I wouldn't make the detective proclamation, somewhere on the inside you must have said, I've won. You're pretty sly yourself. You gave me the packing tape seal seemingly out of mercy, but that was because you planned to have all the first Twilight victims survive, band together, and carry out the crimes. So you gave me only 3 rooms worth, which wouldn't cover all 6 people. No matter which rooms I sealed, at least one of your underlings could move freely. You must have been plotting to use that to corner me. But too bad. Your naivety really pisses me off. Stupid man. I admit it. I admit I fell for your monkey show. And in my pride, I tried to show you some mercy. That's right. Even without the detective's authority, there is a way for humans to do it. A way to make sure that a corpse examination cannot fail. Is the human lying in front of you dead or alive? You can answer that question by examining the corpse. With just a quick glance, your chances of being right are 50-50 either way. Various bits of knowledge and experience can be used to obtain a more precise result. However, no matter how much you do that, while you can reach up to 99%, you can never reach 100% accuracy. That's what most people would think. However, there is one way to conduct a perfect examination. And that is... to kill them. Erika! Without the detective's authority, I can't tell whether the victims are dead or faking. So I needed a way to be sure. And if possible, it would be preferable if they were removed from the game board, so they couldn't make a mess of things later on. So I dashed through the chaos-filled mansion, visited all the crime scenes, and... I re-killed all of them. What on earth? Of course, she couldn't just kill them however she liked. It had to be a perfect way of killing, good enough that their deaths could be determined with the red truth. Erica made sure of that. The manner in which they were killed differed, but afterwards, she completely severed the heads of all those she killed. That method of killing is solid enough to be called a red truth, right? Lambda? Valid. No human could survive after having their heads sliced off. Could you have severed all those heads without getting any blood on you? Oh gosh, hey! Bubbles, welcome to the stream. Lork, welcome to the stream. You guys are here at a very climactic part. Welcome, welcome. Can I just say, this part gave me real chills the first time I read it. Like, actual chills. I was like, oh my gosh. If you thought what Erica did in the last episode was crazy, this just like blew me away. I was like, oh my gosh, Erica. For example, you could take a large trash bag from the kitchen and grab the knife through it. Then, if you covered the entire corpse with a trash bag as you did your work, you'd block nearly all the blood splatter. If you still want to be surprised and you missed the first half of the stream, you might want to leave now and then come back if you want to get the same shock. But if you want to catch up later, that's also fine as well. But I'd say the shock is worth it, I think. But I appreciate you stopping by. Dude, very unfortunate timing. Thank you. You're very kind. I used enough knives and bags for several people, and then left them there at the crime scene. Of course, I didn't humiliate myself by walking around with them, leaving blood in the hallways and dirtying my clothes. There will probably be trash bags left at the crime scenes with my fingerprints on them. But since this game ends before the police come, that can't be used as evidence, so there's no problem with leaving them there. Are you insane? What kind of mystery would ever allow something like that? I can't believe I'm hearing this from a witch on the fantasy side. Oh, and don't worry, I didn't kill you. I didn't have time to sever the head of the last one found, so I just sealed your whole room with the packing tape you gave me. Then again, that might have been because I knew this would happen and wanted to watch you struggle. Oh, that's right. Just as I can say I killed them in red, I can say one more thing. At that point, Erica stopped for a second and... you should be wearing an even uglier expression than everything before now. With that highest quality face, she spoke. Lace, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. Thank you, thank you. Hey, did you have a good stream? Please go check out Lace when you get a chance. Not only is a super cool streamer, he plays Final Fantasy XIV and other RPGs, and other visual novels and mystery games too. So if you like what I play, you'll like what Lace plays. Well, thank you so much for the stretch and the sleeveless. I hope you guys had a good stream. You're playing Final Fantasy XVI, I see. A lot of people are playing it. Oh, I want to play it so bad, but I have to wait. I have to wait. So I can't come watch because of spoilers. Speaking of that, we are at a very climactic moment in this visual novel, so if you ever plan to read this for yourself and get some shock value, then you might want to shield your eyes. But thank you so much for coming by. Hope you are able to sit back and relax. And guys, check out Lace when you get a chance. All 5 people I killed were very much alive until the moment I killed them. Everyone faithfully played dead as best as they could until the moment just before I killed them, okay? Maria-san was quite the little trooper. After all, even though her mother had already been killed in the same room, she kept on playing dead without even noticing. They're demons. Up until now, many witches and demons have appeared in this tale. For the first time, here are true demons. You bastards! You bastards! This time, Bito understood the entire plot of this tale. This tale was just the story of a prank. Surely someone had thought of playing a slightly harsh trick on this inconsiderate guest who loved to show off her intelligence and act the part of a great detective, and several people had agreed to go along with it. Then, the ones who would play the victims would go into their assigned rooms, set the chain and the lock from the inside, and play dead to create a fake closed-room murder. If you think about it that way, the rooms chosen for the corpses seem to make more sense. Hey V, welcome to the stream! Oh, thank you so much for the stretch. It was only natural for Natsui to die in her own room. If you're going to play dead, it's only natural you'd want to lie down on your own bed. Ava's vanity is strong, so she must have asked to die in that VIP room. Kyrie was in Krause's study. That was probably well air-conditioned and comfortable. Rosa and Maria were in the parlor. A soft sofa should have been a great place to play dead. Maria had done her best and had impressively acted the part of lying dead against the wall. Badler was in the guest room. The temperature here was also nice. The bed must have been also fairly pleasant. Yes, the victims for the first Twilight had all died in comfortable rooms. In the past games, the corpses had often been found exposed in the courtyard or under the rose garden arbor, in the cold gardening shed, or in the boiler room. This time, there were no victims in any such inhospitable environments. This is probably the truth. This is the story of a prank with no one dead from the beginning. And then, this demon turned it into a real murder case. You do have the right to speak ill of Lady Erica. However, right now, you also have the obligation of showing a new logic that doesn't lead to any contradictions. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, corpses to corpses. Hey, Badler-san, let's continue the game. Please present a different human to switch places with you. If you don't, your trick will become a logic error. There's now no one who can come to the rescue. Erica's killed all of them. Damn it. Damn it, damn it, damn it! Badler-san, please calm yourself. Now's the time to hold back your tears and fight. Even if you've lost 5 pieces who can save you, there's still the 11 people in the guest house. You're right. Krause, Hideyoshi, Rudolph, George, Jessica, Shannon, Cannon, Genji, Koda, Kumasawa, Nanjo. It doesn't matter who, as long as someone comes here. Somebody help! But it's no use. Please look at this. Gertrude, Cornelia. Let it be known we are here and ready. Badler-san, please look at this. What are these? Erica, who's now so excited her pronunciation was tumbling all over the place, pointed at 2 doors. It was the hallway on the 2nd floor of the guest house. They were in front of the cousin room in the next room over. Look here! There's something attached to the door? What is it? What is it? What is it, Gertrude? Know that it is the packing tape seal of the cousin room. Oh yeah, very good. One more. What about this door? No, it is the packing tape seal of the next room over. Oh, very good. Okay, you two. Why don't you show everyone watching at home on their TVs? Please have a look at the packing tape seals on both doors. So, what do you think of them? Are they broken or aren't they? Please let us have the red truth. Please allow me to speak. Know that neither is broken. Know that an unbroken seal proves there are still none who have entered or exited. It needs no second telling, but know that entry or exit without breaking the seal is impossible. Good. Badler, it is as you see. There no longer exists anyone who can save you. The victims of the first Twilight had all been killed, and the guest house is still sealed. No one can come to the rescue. Erica had guessed that this moment might come so long ago, and that was why she had made the strategic move of suddenly sealing those 2 rooms. This answered the doubts Cornelia had felt at the time. Wondering why the human side player would want as many free humans as possible was a natural, simple reaction to that move. However, if you sealed up all the humans, there would be no room for magic to intervene. Why is magic magic? Because the people who see it say it's magic. Then, is it possible for the magic to exist in a place with no people? Does the lack of anti-magic toxin mean there's no problem? Wrong. Magic in a place that isn't being witnessed is no different from a delusion, a daydream. Magic that matches a result must be carried out by human hands. If all humans are sealed off, then magic cannot be created. This was Erica's strategy for this game, and her beautiful checkmate. Well now, who's going to come to save you? Please tell me the identity of the real person who switched places with you, remained in the guest house in your place, and set the chain lock from the inside. Or the guest room, sorry, if they exist. Okay, Battler, your logic has been interrupted. Who could come to save you? You are now in the middle of a logic error. What? Wait, I'm still thinking. Battler, you have 2 options and 1 duty. The first option is to build a new thread of logic to reconstruct your closed room trick. The second is to come clean and admit to your logic error, and you're obligated to choose one of those options. It is merciful. There's no restriction on the amount of time you have to make that choice. That's right. Your time is endless, eternal. I'm sure there's still some way. Some twisted logic that can get you out of this. Anyway, I'm sure there's still some way. I'm thinking about it. What about you, Bito? Let me know if you find anything. I'm sure the old Bito could have managed something. She built up several closed rooms like this. Hey Reeds, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. Good to see you. Bito felt awful. Why was she Bito and yet not? Surely the old her would have thought up a trick under these restrictions. If only she could do that, she could guide Battler to victory, but she couldn't do that as her current self. Yeah, I'm sure you'll think of a good trick. Eventually, surely. Probably, maybe. Pretty sure it's impossible, though. So then, Battler, let's go back to the guest room. From now on, that will be your world. Once again, they returned to the slightly chilly guest room. It was the same room as before, of course, but it felt as though an unsettling darkness has crept in. Here's a room you'll spend your days in from now on. You just need to escape from this room by any means you want. However, there are conditions. As I believe you know, these were all the things you forced on yourself. First, this room is a closed room created from the inside. The seals on the windows are intact, so there can be no escape through there. Of course, there's no way to escape by leaving through the bathroom. I'll make it simple. There is no exit to escape from except for this door. However, the chain lock on this door is set. You can unset and reset it all you want, but you can only do so from the inside. Furthermore, you are free to go out through the door, but you cannot leave or escape while the chain door is unset. You have to show you can escape from this room, with the chain lock still connected. Hey Johan, welcome to the stream! Thank you so much for coming by. Yes, if you're coming in at this point, it's probably very confusing, so I apologize. But he couldn't possibly do it. He made this closed room himself. We have arranged for just one exit other than the door. That one's in the bathroom. My merciful master has given you one last way out if you fail to think of any trick to escape. Please listen up. Ern Castell guided Battler to the bathroom. It was just a normal bathroom. The setup for that had surprised Erica. To buy time was no longer working. However, the bundle of wire and the nippers that had been used to prepare that trap still lay in the empty bathtub. Are you saying I could use these to escape? Yes, please feel free. It's a present. However, no matter what you use, you can't lock the room from the outside. And you can't fool the seals either, okay? These tools aren't here to help you pull some trick with the chain lock. They're here to let you escape from this room in a more direct way. How am I supposed to use these? Not bad, Burn. I see your mind's as grotesque as ever. There is an exit that leads directly outside from this bathroom. Can you find it? You don't mean... Did you figure it out, Bito? Please tell me. That's... impossible. Please, where is it? Tell me. We can't let the game end like this. There. Huh? Where? Under the bathtub? Can't you see it? There's a round hole that leads straight out of this room. It's a bit small, though. You people. It's the drain right there at the bottom of the bathtub. You can get out through there without touching the chain lock. But your body is a bit too big to get through this exit. That's why I decided to lend you these tools here. You can escape through the drain. But how? Hey Relix, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for coming by. Yeah, unfortunately Battler can't just hit the reset button. He's a bit beyond that. She couldn't mean using those nippers for 100 years to widen that hole, right? Battler and Bito had already realized. They had figured out this demonic way that the demons were proposing. Just use those nippers and cut your body down to a size that can fit. Crunch, crunch. Might as well sit back in the tub under a hot shower. As you start from your feet going up, chip them, then wash. Chip, then wash. Just keep doing that, and what do you know? You've suddenly managed to escape from the closed room. Oh, what do you know is right, my master. Looks like both siblings are gonna end up the same way. But Burn, at that rate, just the hand holding the nippers would be left. That's why we have the wire. Beforehand, Battler will have to wrap the wire around his wrist, and then stretch the other end out into the corridor through the crack in the door. You should be able to fit just a wrist through the crack left by the chain lock. If you're willing to do that, I'd be happy to pull that wire from the hallway and save you. My master, if you do that, I want it. Battler's wrist. And what would you use that for? But no, I've already decided to use it as a back scratcher. When the time comes, I'll scratch your back with it. What do you say? Yes, my master. Master's gonna scratch my back with Battler's hand. Finding them annoying, irritating, obnoxious? Don't worry, it'll get quiet real soon. All noise to disturb your thoughts will now disappear for all eternity until you can escape from this room. That's a relief. I'll be glad of the quiet. Here's some advice from a survivor of hell. Enjoy this noise while you can. Even the annoying insults you hear now will bring you fond memories to preserve your sanity amidst the eternal silence. Do you hate Burn and Erica? Then that's their parting gift to you. As long as you have hatred, you'll be able to avoid giving up. Giving up has a completely different meaning here, okay? Prepare yourself while you can. For the eternity of the hell you'll be in when you're given up, but still cannot escape. Did you just call yourself a survivor? Then, you also... You know, every once in a while, that terror comes back to me. I wonder whether I really escaped from that hell. What if I actually lost my mind a long time ago, and I'm still in here, just seeing a delusion of us all chatting happily like this? That nightmare still terrifies me, and so I need to constantly feel, truly feel that this isn't a dream. Hey, are you guys really real? You aren't just an insane delusion I'm having inside that hell, right? Right? There was something in Lambda Delta's pleading expression that sent shivers down the spine. It was probably more terrifying than any threatening word she could have used, even with the most vile expression on her face. It's time for Battler to realize. A logic error isn't so sympathetic you can just stick out your tongue, ask for forgiveness, and say you'll be more careful next time. It's never worth risking one by leaving things up to chance, even if you feel you can't back down at this point in the fight. It's time for him to face reality, and learn the true risks and terrors implied by the words. Betting one's life on a fight, which must sound so exciting for a man. Battler-san, get a hold of yourself. I'll think deeply upon it as well. I'll think of a trick to escape this room with all I've got. I'll come to save you. Bito. I'll definitely think of something, just watch. Well, regretfully, it's time for us to leave. We mustn't get in the way of his job any longer. See you later, Battler-san. Or like you'd say it, see you again, right? Have a nice day. Later, Battler. Good luck. Battler-san, don't give up. You'll certainly think of a trick. I'll think as well. I'll come to save you. Bito? Before he could finish saying Bito's name, they all disappeared. They hadn't disappeared in a golden spray, or turned into butterflies and flown away. Just as though there had been never anyone in this room since the beginning. Everyone but him had vanished in an instant. Nothing remained. Not their voices, their presence, their warmth, not even the faint perfume Bito had worn. The frigid air of the room was wrapped only in the lonely sound of the wind and the rain. With that overpowering feeling of isolation, I finally began to realize how horrible punishment this would be. Damn those bastards. Can't be that hard to get out of a room like this. I mean, rooms are made so people can go in and out of them, right? If they can't do that, you wouldn't call it a room. How pointless. It's easy to undo the lock and chain from the inside. Damn it. For some reason, I've always been clumsy, and undoing chain locks always gives me trouble. Oh, it's off. How pointless. Look, I can already open the door whenever I want. Hey. What's this cold feeling on my neck? The hell is this? Why is there suddenly this iron collar on my neck? It's attached to a chain. Damn it. Who would do something like that? When I reset the chain lock, it disappears. When I take it off, it appears. The chain's pretty long, so I can make it pretty far out into the hallway. But I won't let go of the door. And if I close the door, stand on the outside and stick my hand through the crack, maybe I can figure out how to set the chain. Why have I always been so clumsy? Not really clumsy, it's just me and chain locks don't go well together. Damn it. I hate chain locks. I hate chains. Why would it work? Why can't I set the chain lock from the outside? Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Battler-san. Battler-san! Hang in there. Hang in there! Can't get out. Bito called out to Battler repeatedly, shaking his shoulders hard. But by now, Battler's eyes were blank. The words didn't reach him. Byrne, Castell, and Erica had already left. The game was officially suspended until Battler could think of a new trick. But it was doubtful it would be resumed even after 1,000 years. Or more. Okay, I'm heading off too. So long, you two. There's no need to say so long. We'll think of a trick right away and the game will resume. We won't take up your time. So stay here a little longer, please. We've heard those same words from many witches in the past, and I've heard of hardly any who've actually managed to resume their games. As far as I know, the only two are me and Byrne. Why would a person who knows about that hell throw another person into it? Just because you're bored? Is that all? Yeah, that's all. It's to escape from boredom. Because when we get bored, we remember. We remember that hell. And you know, by throwing someone else down into that hell, we realize that, oh, we're the ones on the throwing side. And that means we aren't in the hell ourselves. If we don't keep doing that, then the fear of that hell will consume us. If you two manage to get out of it, then certainly he will. I will save him, and I can say it with certainty. With certainty? You swear with certainty before me, Lambda Delta, the Witch of Certainty. Yes, with certainty. Very well. I was the guardian of the former you anyway. Though the current you is different, I'll take care of you one last time. I'll give you a parting gift. And what is that? Hope. As long as you can hold on to your certainty, your wishes will definitely come true. Are you listening? The old you was the endless witch Beatrice. You used to love detective novels that depicted impossible crimes, and you used those to make a claim that a witch existed, to make many people believe in magic. As one stage on your path to becoming a witch. Detective novels. That's right. The old you was an avid reader. You loved detective novels, loved closed room murders, and were a super expert on impossible crimes. You searched for and found several closed room tricks, found the single most basic element to all of them, and used that to form the core of your magical compendium. Didn't Badler tell you? He said the old you would definitely have thought of a way out of this predicament. I agree with that. I guarantee it by the name of the Witch of Certainty, Lambda Delta. The old you would definitely have resolved this closed room trick. Ugh. That's my parting gift to you. Goodbye. You swore to the Witch of Certainty you'll act with certainty, so I won't say farewell. I'll see you again soon. Yes, we'll see you again soon. Lambda Delta vanished into thin air. Then in the smoking room of the witch, the two who held the title of Endless Witch were left behind. One had empty eyes. The other supported the first by his side. Ironically, he was the exact opposite of how their relationship had been in the previous game. Yeah, the witches continue the cycle of trauma. Isn't that fun? So it's kind of implied that the game that Lambda Delta and Burn Castell escaped from in the past was the story of Higurashi. And even though Lambda and Burn do not directly appear in Higurashi, there are characters in Higurashi that are intentionally made to resemble them as well. Let's take a look at... See, I said earlier that all the characters here, their fate was unknown. They were grayed out because we didn't know whether they were truly dead or not. But now, you can see, Erica has made sure that everyone is very properly accounted for. So here's Natsuhi, Ava, Kyrie, Rosa, Little Maria. Of course, Badler is still technically unaccounted for. Dang! This part of the game really... Like, I thought the twist in the previous episode was good, but the twist in this one is astronomical. Like, you know, in the last game, you're like, oh, Erica's awful. And like she surprises us by doing the she scales the wall and puts the packing seal on the tape. She listens through Badler's wall for the entire night, and you're like, that's a shocker. But then she does this, and you're like, oh god. Like, it just sends a shiver down your spine. But like the way that she corners Badler is so clever. Like, you hate her. She's an awful character, even when she tries to garner sympathy, right? It turns out to be an act. But her move here is extremely clever, if not very chilling. And I know for people that, might be joining in or haven't read this visual novel before, I know it's very complicated. It's kind of hard to kind of grasp what's going on. This is episode 6 of 8, and we've been reading this for like probably close to 80 hours now, I think. Because we were at like probably 60 hours or something when we finished the questions arc, and so we must be about 20 hours into the answers arc, because we're almost halfway through. But dang. But this is like where it gets exciting, because it turns the game on its head. It's completely unlike what we've seen in all the previous episodes. Yeah, exactly. She throws out all her logic and morality just for the sake of being correct. And that's so chilling. And I think that's what makes Erica and Kirostyle such great villains. Like, they're just such good villains, the type that you just want to hate, but they're so methodical and clever, and it's just, oh man, the writing. I do recommend the series if you ever, you can get this visual novel on Steam, or you could read the manga. I think the manga is a good stopping point, but like the anime skims over a lot of stuff. It only covers up to episode 4, so it doesn't really cover the plot. You're gonna be left on a cliffhanger. But honestly, I think just reading it on your own is fun. Or, maybe you want to check out my YouTube channel. I've archived all my VODs. If you just want to listen to me read for 60, 70 hours at a time, then maybe use it as an audiobook. But I'm glad to get back into this. It's fun reading this novel, listening to the music, kind of getting to these emotional points. I miss it, even though my voice has been recovering over the last month. So I'm glad we're able to get back to it. I'm glad we're going to be able to finish episode 6 this week before we get to play Raincode. But just like in the previous episode, remember in the previous episode, Natsuvi is cornered, and we didn't know what to do, and I left you on a cliffhanger, and then next time, we picked it up, and I know people in the chat were brainstorming ideas. How could Natsuvi get out of this situation? What could she do? So maybe that's something for you to ponder about if you've been following along. What could Badler do to get out of this logic error? Is there anything he can do? Use your brains and try to use all the clues and see, is there a way that he could find a logical way to escape from the room while also keeping the chain lock in place? Oh yeah, and this also goes back to, in the previous streams of this episode, we've always had this point of view from first person of someone trapped in a room that wasn't able to get out, and it read like a horror game. Your brain probably clicked together, but this whole time that's been Badler in this situation. It's been not to say foreshadowing. It's been more like a flash forward of seeing what he is like when he's trapped in that room. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. This novel has so much to unpack. It's just a shame it's so long, but the length is kind of what makes it so good too at the same time. Alpha Squishy Snake, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for following me and being a froggy friend. Good to see you. Aw, Lace, you enjoy listening to me and could listen for the whole day. Thank you, I appreciate it. Break the wall? I mean, if he could, without violating the rules, I'm sure he would. There's a complex set of rules that prevent Badler from leaving the room normally, and it's those complex set of rules that we need to adhere to. And the rules were ironically created by himself. That's what makes Erica's play so clever. She uses his own rules against him, forces him to make new ones on the spot, and then traps him with it. Very chilling stuff, but it sets up a great precedence for the next stream, which will conclude episode 6, and then we have the tea party afterwards, which is like the epilogue. Let's raid someone. No, see, it's not as easy as he can't just leave the door, take the pins out, and then remove the chain. The problem is, when he leaves the room, the chain needs to be set back in place. So he can undo the chain easily and leave the room, but then he can't actually leave unless he's able to close the door behind him and set the chain in place while leaving the rest of the room intact. and he can't leave through the windows. He can't leave through any. There's no hidden passages. There's no way out in the bathroom except for down the drain, which would require him to mutilate himself and kill himself. Basically, it's complicated. It's not a normal room. It's like a magical room created by his own logic to try to create an impossible murder mystery. It's basically, yeah. There's a lot of layers to this. It's fascinating. Well, it's like magic, but it's not magic. Magic has a very specific definition in this visual novel, and they define it really well over time, but it'll take so much effort to explain it. They use magic as a special term. So when I say magic, I don't really mean magic. I kind of mean like magic with quotation marks. Let's see who we're going to stream, or not stream, raid. I don't want to raid someone who's playing Final Fantasy 16 because I don't want to spoil myself, unfortunately. So we're gonna need to find someone else. Yeah, the magic is basically the rules of this world. So we're gonna raid my friend Yui. He is playing some kind of horror game. I don't know what this horror game is. I think he's doing like many little short horror games this evening. I don't really know what they are. Let's pop in on him. So stick around for a raid. Otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next installment of Umineko episode 6, because I want to get it done early this week and make up for all those streams that we missed earlier this month. Thank you so much for coming by, everyone. I really appreciate it, especially those of you who dropped by and maybe didn't know what was going on but stuck around anyways. I really appreciate it, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.